It is your PrisonPlanet.tv memberships that fund so much of what we do here on this operation. And then we're more than happy for the TV show after it's aired live, then be leaked out onto the web to tens of millions of people. That's our goal. Ladies and gentlemen, we have got an incredible transmission lined up for you today. And we are going to be here for the next 3 hours. Then I shall be back this evening, 7 o'clock Central, 8 o'clock Eastern, 5 o'clock Pacific, 6 o'clock Mountain PM with InfoWars Nightly News. Well, I have finally had a chance to see Hunger Games. And I'm going to give you a big spoiler alert here. Coming up in the last 15 minutes or so of the next hour, I'm going to give you my review of the film. And it is 100% Agenda 21 and is our actual future. This is what they call predictive programming, where they put in science fiction what they're planning to establish. A collapsed society by design, 10 regions per country. This has 12. A dictatorship running it that's depopulated people. Monorail connecting megacities with most people forced to live in the city. Small groups living in the countryside who are under feudalism and who are killed if they're caught hunting and trying to feed themselves. The men are effeminate and prance around going, trendy. And you've got the enforcer military, though, who's dominating everybody. So again, it's fashionable for men to submit to tyranny, giggle at liberty, except for the enforcers. And so that's all part of having resistance bred out of you. And they have gladiatorial events to play the regions off against each other in worship of the centralized government. See, I already started giving you a review right there. But that's the future. When you see films like Demolition Man, I don't know, that came out like 15 years ago or more, and everything is this nanny state dictatorship, that's actually what they're planning. And so this whole program that they're setting up, this whole operation that's being developed, is just so over the top, I don't even know how we're going to be able to deal with it. Now, that said, we've got a lot of really important news that we're going to be covering, obviously, after the break. The whole Trayvon Martin case, because it's an example of media manipulation, is important to cover. I'm going to be breaking that down, in fact, just when we come back from break. Then we've got the really bad news that the media is preparing everyone for the Supreme Court to rule that socialist health care is the law of the land. And the White House is also arguing in these meetings with the Supreme Court that, yes, it can be selectively enforced as well, which that itself is just off the chart unconstitutional. That, oh, the government can make one group do something, but not the other. That's called incredible unfair weights and measures, incredible discrimination, class system. But that's the whole point of big government. It's there to shut down the competition of the globalist. And so we're going to be going over that. And Ron Paul's been right in the past. He says the word is the Supreme Court is going to rule that government-run health care is the model. So we're going to be covering that after the break as well. And Obama requests $770 million to fight global warming overseas. That means take people's property. We're going to be going over all of that today. Also, kids all over America are being sent on buses without their parents' consent or knowledge to FEMA camps with police with machine guns. The kids drive behind barbed wire. It's all training them to go to the prisoner centers. And that's what it is on record. So that's expanding as the state trains you. Hey, your kids belong to us, and our hands are going down their pants at the pedophile training TSA. And there's news on the TSA as well. It is Tuesday, the 27th day of March, 2012. We're going to be live here for the next 3 hours. We've got former top State Department psychological warfare chief who wrote the book on overthrowing governments and psychological warfare. And, of course, he literally wrote the book, co-authored a bunch of the books with Tom Clancy. We're going to have Dr. Steve Pieczenik on, hadn't been on in 4 or 5 months. Turns out I wasn't going through all my voicemail properly. He called me weeks ago wanting to come on about the Stratford emails that I'm in, where Stratford here in Austin, a private intelligence group, really with connections to the CIA, they just release stuff that the CIA can't publicly do. They let Stratford leak it, attacking me and saying, that they've got to release bin Laden photos because, I'm out there convincing the public that it was staged. And, of course, Pieczenik 9 years ago said that he died of kidney failure and that they would stage his discovery at one point. And he certainly is a good source of info for us on that front. He's saying he talked to high-level intelligence people, that it created a giant stir in the intelligence community over the fact that everybody knew that it was fake and was really creating an internal war. And he says Stratford is important and that they basically are a mouthpiece of the CIA. So we'll be breaking that down. And I want to be clear. Over the years, I've called Stratford many times, Dr. Friedman, and asked him to come on the show. They'll never return our calls. Last week, we sent a camera crew down there. We're going to do a nightly news piece on that soon to demand that they talk to us, and they brushed us off. The security guard did. So we're going to keep working on that report and show the fact that they are talking trash about me behind the scenes, but not then willing to belly up to the bar and actually face me here on air. And I don't want to make it about Alex Jones, but it just shows that the system is scared of this Osama bin Laden story because it's as phony as a $3 bill. Also, Pieczenik thinks that there's some skullduggery going on with this Sergeant Bales and the whole massacre there in Afghanistan. So we'll get his take on that for about 35, 40 minutes in the second hour. And then I'm going to give you my review of the Hunger Games that is Agenda 21. That's actually what the UN in the 1996 Biological Diversity Assessment that I cover in my film Road to Tyranny, they actually describe that movie. I mean, that is exactly what they want to do. And I'm going to try to get the author on because she's either a listener of this show or researches the New World Order. The first book came out 4 years ago in 2008. It's a trilogy. I haven't read the books. A lot of the office has. Or she's working for the globalist and it's some kind of conditioning thing, but it's anti-authoritarian. But the system would say, well, that just conditions people. Even if it's anti-Agenda 21, it still just acclimates people to this idea. I have to say it's anti-Agenda 21. I mean, I guess Hollywood thinks everybody's so dumb. Okay, it's a popular book. We'll make a bunch of money. So what if it's an anti-neo-feudalist movie? I mean, it's America collapses, basically under carbon taxes. 100 years later, they're having the 70th something gladiatorial diversion that's meant to play the different 12 regions off against each other, the centralized government, Jumbotron, telescreens, like everything is put back to loincloth, frozen agrarian society, feudalism. You're executed if you're caught trying to raise more food or, catch a rabbit to eat it. But then the government itself has all this high-tech system they use to control. That is exactly what the New World Order is planning. That is exactly what they state in Agenda 21, UN Biological Diversity Assessment 96, Club of Rome. I mean, the movie is exactly, see, I'm already reviewing it, is exactly what they want to set up, where almost everybody's depopulated. There's a few mega cities, one per region or so, with small agrarian societies, heavily oppressed. and 99% of the land locked off for the elites, and the elites are all foppish and feminine, metrosexual, going, gibbering. I mean, that is exactly the plan. How many of you have heard me talk about this? A lot of you out there that are radio listeners don't have the time or energy to go look up all the documents we post, to watch Endgame, to watch Road to Tyranny, to look at the research we've done to find out. I didn't just imagine the Hunger Games as our future without ever reading the book 10 years ago before the books were out. And the lady that wrote this book didn't either. What's in these books is what they're planning. I got to get Alan Watt on about this. Because, he's always talking about predictive programming, and that is what it is. You notice in, like, Star Trek, it's the UN symbol. And it's all about global government back on Earth. And Roddenberry admitted he wants global government before he died and said this was programming. Of course it is. You got the Attorney General saying, put anti-gun messages in TV. We want to brainwash the public. Well, they have all these anti-family messages. When you're watching TV and see a message and suspend disbelief, and the women are always the boss and the men are bad and everybody's fighting with each other and racial tension, that's there for a reason. That's programming. And I know you know it, but do you really know it? If they have their way, folks, the Hunger Games is our future. That's why they're getting us ready with gladiatorial war, all these sports that are getting more and more violent. The UN says, and I've got to dig this out, in the UN Biological Diversity Assessment of 96, the one on their online site has been watered down. It's a synopsis. I had to go to the library to get the full one. It's somewhere around here. I show it again in Road to Tyranny that I produced 10 years ago. I show copies of it, underlined. It said, we'll have regional governments, everybody crammed in cities, small agrarian groups. The regions will have combat games, gladiatorial diversions, gladiatorial events to give them a sense of regionalism instead of nationalism. So they get rid of the major countries and have them in a global conglomerate, but then you still have tribalism, but you make that sub-regions within the superstates, which is the North American Union, SPP. See, I'm already getting into it. Whoa! I mean, it's happening, and they talk about human sacrifice, how they're going to promote that, how they're going to have people in agrarian, post-industrial society with these high-tech reservations in the armored cities with specialized, militarized computer systems, combat robots, drones, very small groups of militarized men to enforce, very small. And the rest of the men literally given hormones, walking around going, I mean, this is the system. Men jumping around in pink outfits foppishly with their wrist going, while murdering everybody. I mean, that's what they do. There it is. United Nations Systems Worldwide Earthwatch Biodiversity Assessment. That's the 1995 one. Oh, there's the Haywood 96. Click on that one and see if it's the right one and type in human sacrifice. See the second blue link down there? Is that the full document or just a synopsis? Hey, search this, UN Biological Diversity Assessment, 1996, human sacrifice. I mean, you cannot make up the hardcore nature of this. I'm living in a Twilight Zone movie. I see and hear these people constantly moan. I hear it in rock music, rap music, country music. I listen to everything. And all they do is whine about how life's not worth living and it's so boring. And, that is pure Madison Avenue baloney. I walked outside last night and watched that crescent moon with Jupiter and Saturn lined up like something out of 2001 Space Odyssey. It's springtime. It's just beautiful flowers everywhere, birds singing, crisp air outside, electrifying information, in incredible developments, horrific things happening, exhilarating things happening, hundreds of reports coming out. They've not just stopped aging in mice and rats, they've reversed it. Fountain of youth, confirmed for decades, now being released. Just totally crazy. CIA announcing everyone's house being watched through all the major appliances. I I mean, the world is just incredibly active and incredibly alive, and so much is happening. And there's people walking around talking about how it's boring. I mean, you're only alive and conscious one time. People say, oh, I'd love to go to Mars. Oh, I'd love to go to foreign planets. I'd love to go to space. You're in space. You're in the universe. You're on a gorgeous planet, a very special place, with giant oceans filled with life and rainforest and fields and caves and the universe all around us and all the life forms and the magic of the human eye and smell and taste and touch and the fact that we can see a beach and a sunset and know it's beautiful and that our soul communicates and resonates with it. Whoa! I mean, that's incredible. And these people are moping around talking about how life isn't worth living. And then Paul Watson's got an article coming out about all the people dying in Japan from radiation poisoning, and they just call it something else. And when people go in with bleeding intestines, bleeding gums, radiation poisoning, they call them mentally ill and give them Prozac. What did they do with the troops for 22 years with DU poisoning? They give them Prozac and say, go home. I mean, we talk about people in wheelchairs who then rot and die and never get medical care from the scumbag VA because DU poisoning doesn't exist. And it's the same thing. I mean, it's just psychopaths who think radiation poisoning and death and war and black uniforms and nothing but women that look like Kagan and Janet Reno stumbling around looking like goblins ruling us. This is the wavelength progression system signature of the elite. Potbellies, weird women ruling us, metrosexual men toddling around, poison, death, black pyramids. Yeah, soon the federal government is going to control every facet of healthcare. It's not just that they're going to make you buy insurance. The insurance companies wrote it. They're owned by the big banks that want to euthanize you before you ever collect your Social Security, before you ever actually need to use the health care. And that's why in the health care law, they do have death panels. And they admit they have death panels, as Bill Gates and others have said. They don't call them death panels, though. It's federal boards that then set up local boards that decide under the socialist system if you get the surgery. And it's the same way in Canada. It's the same thing in England. It's the same thing everywhere. They decide, and the state euthanizes you. And then once it's socialist health care, they're going to decide whether you're allowed to have a baby or not. They have to look at your genetics and see if they're aberrant. This is the new system of oppression. But on screen for PrisonPlanet.tv viewers, and yes, go ahead and torture them. Go ahead and scroll down. Justice Kagan and Obamacare. She needs to recuse herself immediately. That's the Curtin Emo article. Now that Obama's unconstitutional monstrosity, the Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act, kind of like the Patriot Act's patriotic, a.k.a. Obamacare, has reached the Supreme Court, it is time for Justice Elena Kagan to recuse herself. As Solicitor General of the United States, Kagan headed up an office that formulated the Obama administration's legal defense of the legislation. She is obliged under Section 455B3 of Title 28 U.S. Code to recuse herself from cases where a justice has served in governmental employment and in such capacity participated as counsel, advisor, or material witness concerning the proceeding or expressed opinion concerning the merits of the particular case or controversy. In February, Senator Jeff Sessions cited United States versus Gibson, a decision made by the 10th Circuit that held judges who had previously taken part, albeit small, in the investigation, preparation, or prosecution of a case must disqualify themselves. She must recuse herself under law. Big L, big A, big W with 1,000 exclamation points behind it. Law, law, law. Put her up there back on screen. And again, I have nothing against women that look like Elena Kagan. I want to know, though, why almost all of them ruling us look like her. Maybe she's not even from this planet. Maybe that's some type of bizarre android goblin creature. I mean, I don't usually get into looks, but why is it that everybody trying to take my guns, take my private property, and take my kids? The family court judge that takes everybody's kids in Austin looks like her twin, Judge Jean Muir. Janet Reno, Janet Napolitano. Is this a secret government cloning factory? And that's what the clones look like? Seriously. Were these like underground subterranean clones that were created in like a factory? Like in Attack of the Clones and somebody secretly took delivery of them? Maybe the Nazis were cloning goblins. All right, I'm going to stop there. The point is, she must recuse herself. The law. She put out the ridiculous statement saying they could order anything and have socialism. Go read it. She argued for the law in Congress that it was constitutional. In debates with Congress for the executive, and then was made the Supreme Court justice. But forget that. Because we got a White House that says they can launch wars without congressional approval now. We got a White House that says they can secretly arrest us and kill us. Everybody's going to find out laws are there for a reason, to restrain these monsters like Elena Kagan. Yes, children, monsters are real. And she's one of them, a disgusting anti-American piece of trash. She absolutely hates this country and is an authoritarian pig. Capital P, capital I, capital G, with 1,000 exclamation points. She is a bag of scrofulous. Because you know they're getting all the conservatives ready. Oh, Alito says it's legal. Oh, Scalia. It's in the news. And Ron Paul's got his ear to the ground. Ron Paul has got his ear right to the ground, and he said on this show years ago he thought the Congress would pass it when they said it wouldn't, and he was right there, and he says the word is they're going to pass it, and they've got all the conservative groups saying brace and get ready for it. And that demonic slug, I mean, the Supreme Court is a joke now, okay? It's not a real court. It's run by a bunch of criminals, okay? And so, of course, Elena Kagan needs to recuse herself. Her honorable excellency, some Obama crook up there trying to shove a government takeover of our lives so that fat witch has control of our life. I'm sick of it. I hate you, tyrant. Look, I don't normally attack enemies of liberty off of how they look. She is breaking the law, being involved in the writing and prosecution of the healthcare law, now sitting in judgment of it. I mean, that's 100% textbook conflict of interest. It'd be like Hitler sitting as the head judge of the Nuremberg trial. Literally, that's what this is like. Or it'd be like Joseph Stalin sitting in a war crime tribunal where communists are being looked at. It is so ridiculous. And I want to know why all the rulers over me now look like Pat from Saturday Night Live. I mean, it's weird. It's like discrimination. What about other women? What about other men? I mean, if you're for tyranny, hate liberty, and look like Janet Napolitano or Kagan, you go right to the top. I mean, is that like just... I mean, maybe it is like Mars Attacks, and really that's like a rubber suit, and it's a gray alien or something, and that's just what they manufacture off-world. It's that suit, that outfit, and that's... Maybe it is maybe David Icke's right. Maybe she's a reptoid, and that's her like rubber suit. I'm joking before the New York Times goes with that. I'm going crazy, man. I can't handle it anymore. Folks, it is totally unconstitutional for the government to make you buy health care. And I've had lawyers on. I've read the court rulings. It's well known. It's totally illegal for her to sit in judgment of her own law she helped write and that she helped promote to Congress. On record. I just read to you senators pointing it out. Want me to tell you again? Section 455B, that's Section 455B3 of Title 28 of U.S. Code. I read to you earlier. But it gets worse. Wait. Unjust weights and measures, that's the Constitution term for discrimination, selective enforcement of regulations and laws is the essence, the spark, the soul, the heart, the core, the ether of tyranny and oppression. They don't want total government for everybody. That's for us, not for them. who openly engage in any crime you can imagine. UN, diplomatic immunity, running giant child kidnapping rings, snuff filming children, minor footnote, nobody gets in trouble. Diplomatic immunity, they're pushing for to take over your country's taxes with carbon taxes, engage in any crime, and exempt themselves from their own rules. Shutting down the power plants and building them in China. Just every form of these crooks trampling us, laughing at us. No excess is enough for them, because that's the religion of domination. That's the whole point, is that it be over the top, till we just go into a catatonic state, fall down in a fetal position, and just, kneel before an army of Kagans. Elena Kagan. It's so disgusting. Humanity is powerful, strong. We're the equivalent of a 10,000-foot silver giant with huge battle axes, and out-toddles or slides like a slug the spirit of the New World Order that looks just like Elena Kagan. That's why they like her. That's the spirit of it. Leaving a trail of pus, of half-digested children, squirting out the back, because killing kids is what the New World Order is always into. In wars and euthanasia and abortion, she loves that. Killing kids up to 3. First it's up to birth, now to 3. Oh, yeah. So she's got this trail of the most nauseous, rotten meat-smelling thing you can imagine behind her, and she's about a foot tall and about 2 feet long, and she slithers up to a 10,000-foot juggernaut. And we just fall to our knees. She just lifts up her dress, and just the stink of rotten meat comes out, and everybody just falls to their knees. Oh, ruler, you're too powerful. And we're just like, take our children, stick your hands down their pants. And they're like, that's right, forward armies, pedophile trading, New World Order. Yeah, we're gonna slaughter everybody, because we're the authorities. She's a big fat maggot wearing a pearl necklace. She's Kagan. Bow to her and Janet Reno. Burn the kids at Waco. It's so trendy. I probably shouldn't even be on the air today. Was I in a good mood for one on air today? No, I wasn't. I was actually stomping around cussing, which I shouldn't be doing. It's really starting to get to me. In fact, I know what's happening. I got to get her off screen. I've got her on the TV over here, and it's making me mad right now. I was at the Supreme Court a couple years ago. It was on like a Sunday. We're just getting some B-roll. And a cop, federal police, jumps out and goes, what are you doing? And I was down at the bottom, so I kind of turned into one of the marble feet, and it went through my Levi's and jabbed into my shin. Only time I ever had an infection like this. Got super infected. And I didn't know it. It was like rotting all the meat out inside my leg, and I didn't know. I finally went to the doctor. So I was like bitten by the satanic building. And but it was the reverence of like, what are you doing? And he was like, do you know how important this building is? And he would talk about the justice. I ended up being nice to him. I said, I'm going to talk to this poor victim. I was like, oh, really? Tell me what it's like to be around him. He's like, oh, and suddenly, oh, film if you want. Oh, it's so incredible. Oh, my. He was all threatening to arrest me and stuff. You don't film this without permission. I'm like, I didn't say, First Amendment, pal, watch it. I decided to do a test because I could see the guy wasn't evil. He was just a victim of the brainwashing. And I went, oh, I'm sorry. I just wanted it for B-roll for my TV show. Oh, it's a TV show. Oh, it's a political show, kind of libertarian in Austin. Yeah, oh, it's so neat. What's it like working around the justices? Oh, it must be really. And he's like, oh. He's like, oh, yes. And sort of just, his eyes got all starry. Oh, it's so incredible. They're such incredible people. Oh, they're so powerful. I mean, he was like talking about spiritual cesspits of demonic weakness and servile evil and fraud. But he was speaking of it with great reverence and power, and just dripping with enjoyment, his enslavement and his commitment to serving it. I don't like these people, as you can tell. I can see them, and it's disgusting. They're a danger to everyone. I can barely control myself right now, knowing I'll soon be under their control with health care. They're already got their bioethics boards announcing that when you're going to be in a car wreck, they're going to try to, via computer, to tell the doctors that they can render care or not and what care can be done. I mean, the hellishness that these horrible demons are going to run healthcare. And it's going to be done illegally by that witch who knows she's not allowed to sit over it. And I need to get into the other news. It just makes me want to throw up. And I haven't even gotten into the other news yet. This is from CNS News. This has been the issue with it all the time. You can debate whether the government can make you get health care or not, which of course they can't, but you could debate it. You know, there's 1 out of 100, points that you might be able to try to argue fraudulently. But you cannot debate that the 2,000 plus waivers he's given, he gave one to McDonald's for their tens of thousands of employees. They don't have to get them health care. He gave it to all the big unions. All these companies that are in favor with the globalists, they get to stay open. They don't have to go get the government health care. And it's totally illegal. It's not just unconstitutional. It's selective enforcement. Here it is. Administration admits to court under Obamacare select group can get health care, not pay for it, not buy insurance, and not pay penalty. That's another unfair deal, is that certain groups are just going to get totally free health care all the way out. Others aren't even guaranteed it, like pre-existing conditions and children. And then other companies don't have to get their employees. So it's just whatever they say. It's like whatever the insurance companies and banks say. And now they're going to run your health care, the HMOs, and make you buy it. It's already made the price go up. Make you buy it. And then control the health care and make you pay more for not getting health care. I'm going to tell you again, Paul Watson over a month ago got a chest cold. It took him a month to get into the health service. He got in about a week and a half ago. And they gave him a bag with some Band-Aids and some aspirin and some Tylenol. And he said, aren't you going to swab me? Aren't you see if it's bacterial or viral? And they said, nope. You've just been, you say you were jogging on a treadmill a month ago. You overexerted yourself. Stop exercising. And when the Fukushima people are dying, they don't get health care. Paul's got an article just went up. They call them mentally ill. When the troops are down to do you, you're mentally ill. He goes in, national health care, and I said, well, why don't you go see a private doctor? Because I know they have them. He goes, well, you have to be recommended and referred by the National Health Service. They have to decide. And Paul's like, may I go get a referral to a private practitioner? No. Here is your bag of Band-Aids and aspirin. Oh, yeah. We've got control now. Oh, man. And all these idiot cattle out there think they're about to get some free health care. And Bill Gates is there with the nurses last year. We've played the clip 50 times. Should I play it again? Going, I'll tell you, a lot of people don't like what they call death panels. Everybody giggles. But I tell you, you don't give Granny into Care Life that last year. You hired 10 teachers. And the teachers are all like, they're being taught gladiatorially, kill a grandma, I get some money. As if the bankers want to give you some money, honey. As if you're going to get something when somebody else loses. I hear these good old boys for the last 8-9 years going, I'm glad we're in Iraq. We need the oil. And I told him then, I said, listen, moron, do you think the elite murdering all those people over there on lies and having our troops get killed went over there to steal the oil to give it to you, Jack? Do you know that the UN and all the different groups, the IMF, World Bank, and OPEC were angry? It was all over the news pre-1990. 91, that Saddam was selling too much oil and driving down the price. You were paying like 89 cents then or less. And they were telling him, stop pumping. Do you understand that once they got there, they shut the oil off? That boosts the price, idiots. You're paying over $4 now. Do you understand, idiots, that it isn't your military, it isn't your country anymore. It's been taken over by foreign banks that are totally criminal publicly, who are butchering the entire Bill of Rights and Constitution so they can rob you 7 ways to Sunday. They're paramilitarizing the police, have totally legal surveillance in place everywhere, are building giant FEMA camps all over the place, and now admitting it and saying they'll secretly arrest and kill anybody they want and shut the media off. People are like, well, I have nothing to hide. I'll just go along with it. Oh, just like women that can't believe they're being grabbed in a parking lot and put in a van. They just go along with it because they hope it'll be okay. And 3 weeks later, they're on a dirty mattress with a guy behind them raping them with a cattle prod. Because you want to be gullible. Because people that have red blood and are angry and who are desperately trying to wake you out of your trance will actually talk to you straight. This isn't a game, idiots. It isn't a game. It isn't Alex Jones is out of control. No, I'm in control. And I know what we're facing. And I know how bad it is. And I'm upset. You know, they're still coming after the gentleman in Illinois, even though it got thrown out of court by one judge for taping police. He's facing life in prison again. They're arresting people everywhere for filming police in public, and courts are ruling they can do it. They're now arresting people for talking back to police and charging them with felonies, saying the words are an assault. They're now charging people with felonies who ball up while being billy clubbed. Oh, it's just I think I'm joking here. Where is it? You have that video clip ready? We're going to go to it here in a minute. Man arrested, charged with assault for pointing finger at cops. And there's witnesses saying he didn't do anything but pull his cigarettes out of his pocket. But they say that because a finger could look like a gun, I'm not joking. We've got a link to the arrest and indictment affidavit. This guy, and they've got this weird woman in the newscast who's getting off. She's drinking the tyranny. They've got the spokesman for the police, and she's got that same weird, we'll let the courts decide this and handle it. He knows what he did, and she's just going, get them all into prison. Their money is mine. I mean, it is just like, that's who they are. And she's controlling it, though. She's got that same, I can't even do it. Let me try for viewers to actually give you the look. It's like a... That's their spirit, folks. I can see them. And I mean, and they're like, hey, your country is ours. Your planet is ours. A new world order. Send in the rulers. Dun, 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 dun. And her little cape. It's Kagan. Totally committing crime in front of everyone. Set to rule on the law she wrote. Kagan, Solicitor General, now rules on her legislation. Totally illegal. Corzine, robbing your money. Totally illegal. Flaunting it in your face. Media going along with it. And I mean, you got to watch this video. It's up at Infowars.com. Man arrested, charged with assault for pointing finger at cops. Disrespecting a police officer is now a crime. Let's play part of the news clip. Here it is.
A pointed finger lands a father in jail.
That's right, and this Fredericksburg man, in fact, says he didn't even point his finger at police officers, but now he faces 2 felony charges. Gail Huff is live from Fredericksburg tonight with the details on this story. Gail.
Well, police say he pointed a finger like this, and that felt very threatening to them. In fact, he ended up arrested, charged with assault.
He made the motion of shooting at the officers.
Look at this witch.
with his hand.
David Lawless is accused of pointing his finger like a gun
Let's just stop.
at 2 Fredericksburg detectives. Tuesday night.
That's enough. You can watch it at Infowars.com. If you can't see the woman, I've noticed this with the really evil ones. When they talk, they creamily enjoy the power, and she enjoys the power over people, all those prisoners. And she touches her teeth together. When she talks, her lips enjoy it, and she goes, ugh. When she's talking, she's going, ugh, and touching her teeth together. I've noticed that with the really bad ones. Yeah, I've learned their mannerisms, that she talks, Again, they're the priest of power. As O'Brien torturing Winston in 1984 is leaning over him on the rack, and he's saying, we're here to make humanity ugly and still uglier, as he pulls one of Winston's rotten teeth out, and he looks at him and he says, you look at my old face and you think I'm weak, but my weakness is this, the wrinkles is the sign of the vigor of the overall organism. You see, we're here to make society more horrible, more brutish. We're here to trample and be trampled upon, Winston. We're here to wreck society. We're the priest of power, always pressing on the nerve of power, Winston. More ugly, more oppressive. That's what we're going to do. Nothing's going to stop us, Winston. It's a society run by psychopaths, for our enjoyment. Do you understand, scum? Winston, Something will stop you, a spirit in the universe. Something will stop you. No, it won't, Winston. Nothing will stop it. What, you think there's gravity? We can have our scientists have two systems where there is gravity for navigating ships and aircraft, but for the general public where there is no gravity. We can do that, Winston. It's justice for the government to publicly run Al-Qaeda and have them blowing stuff up in Libya and Afghanistan and Iran. But then Al-Qaeda's bad and we have to give our rights up because Al-Qaeda may hit us any moment. Ooh. Yeah, I know what James Brown's feeling deep inside.
And I'm super bad.
Super bad means super good.
Now I got a move that tells me what to do. Sometimes I tear.
Fear of radiation treated as psychiatric disorder.
I feel so nice. I want to try myself a few.
Fear of radiation treated as psychiatric disorder. That's right. Let me read that headline again. Fear of radiation treated as psychiatric disorder in Fukushima. They just had 5 reactors completely melt down and blow up, including a uranium reactor, the most deadly. Children have been dropping dead. That's what happens. It causes heart failure. A lot of the workers have died, but they always just keep it as a minor footnote in the news. Despite proven track record of official deception over disaster, they give you Prozac if you come in with your child bleeding out of every orifice. They're calling it insane, and they're putting them in mental wards and not giving them medical treatment when they collapse. Because there's nothing going on. Kind of like this guy who it turns out has no criminal record, 50-something years old, who's been arrested and charged with assault for pointing finger at cops. It turns out he's a guy involved in the community, no criminal record, and who's liked. And the police were accusing his son in a robbery case, and he told them that they were liars. So they said, your finger's a gun pointing at, you're going to jail. And that's what the rest of the newscast gets into. Think anybody safe there? Oh, where'd Bob go? Oh, he pointed his finger at the police. And that's assault. That's what he's charged with. Fear of radiation treated as psychiatric disorder. Big article at Infowars.com. And again, I want to get Dr. Doug Rocky on for like 30 minutes soon if we can about this, because that's what they told him. He was the head of the DU program. The head of the DU program in the 80s and 90s, wrote the book on it. He's got like 2 or 3 degrees, biology, physics. He was the head of the program, wrote the book. But back in the 40s, they knew it was deadly when they had DU. The military looked at using it. Not until 90 did they allow its use. And now it's just served out everywhere. Shooting ranges for the military. It's put in concrete. It's put in forklifts. It's put in airplane parts. It's everywhere. It's like, oh, nutritious, deadly poisonous, not just radioactive. And when the troops, in congressional testimony, I remember a Marine Corps captain, in the wheelchair, weighed about 75 pounds. He died a few weeks after the testimony. Was like, please give me medical help. They say I'm mentally ill. And the guy's shaking uncontrollably. Looks like worse than a concentration camp victim. He was dead soon. And they're like, mentally ill, mentally ill, mentally ill. You're not ill. Die. Now go in the coffin. When you die and go in the coffin, it's, of course, they did all the major medical reports on their brain stems and found chemical weapons from what was blown up at the bases in Iraq and the DU. I mean, they go get private autopsies, and they're like, yeah, they died of chemical weapons and radiation. And then doctors are dying of it. They go, you're mentally ill, here's Prozac. And they're like, no, my kidneys are failing. That's what the DU does. I need surgery. No, you don't get surgery. It doesn't exist. But my kidneys are failing. Doesn't matter. Say it in DU, we'll give you a surgery. Literally. But it's DU. You're not getting the surgery then. You're mentally ill. And if you argue with me, I'm going to say you're PTSD. You're not going to be able to own guns anymore, and I'm going to send the police by to take your guns. and if you think it's wrong, we'll just say you're crazy, like they did in the Soviet Union. We'll be right back. Dr. Steve Pieczenik is going to be joining us coming up in the next segment. I'm going to be honest with you. I've started my super exercise regimen of running twice a day again. I went out of town for a few weeks and got off my exercise regimen and stopped losing weight and forgot to take my Tangy Tangerine and pollen burst. And for the last few weeks, I've been back on it, and I am so crazed right now. The combination of exercising and researching things and how crazy it's gotten is that I've gotten a bit crazed today. But if you're not upset, there's something wrong with you. I love that bumper sticker. If you're not upset, you're not paying attention. Dovetailed with the articles here, man arrested, charged with assault for pointing finger at cops. Disrespecting a police officer is now a felony crime, Infowars.com. Then I have these articles also from Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. And there's links to the Orange County Register. We're not joking about this. DHS, all the time people see our articles and they go, oh, this isn't true, not even looking at the links. No, it's true. DHS raids home to seize deadly hair straighteners. Federal agency founded to fight terrorism continues war on grooming appliances. The Department of Homeland Security, a federal agency created in the aftermath of 9/11 to fight terrorism, has continued its war on potentially deadly grooming appliances by raiding a home in the affluent Orange County city of Laguna Niguel to seize alleged counterfeit hair straighteners. By the way, I want to do this on the nightly news tonight. I know dudes and they're listening. I want to add this one report. This is how the nightly news turns into 2 hours every night. They've already got a bunch in there they're getting ready for. I want to go pull up the Fox News and AP article. The headline is $15 million fines for garage sale. And by the way, we think I'm joking. They actually have, it goes like 5,000 first fine, 100,000 next, million, then 15 mil. I'm not joking. Truth is more absurd than any Kurt Vonnegut novel that I could give you an anecdote from. And all over the place now, they're saying, oh, there's a lead toy. We've got a SWAT team. Or we're sending a Department of Education SWAT team, even though there is no one in a SWAT team legally there, to somebody's house because they didn't pay a student loan when there is no criminal statute involved. It's just all lawless craziness. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, 15 million. You know, I'm sorry, I said a million. Yeah. New government policy. In fact, if you scroll down, I can read them the headline. Thanks. New government policy imposes strict standards on garage sales nationwide. Americans who slap $1 price tags on their used possessions at garage sales or bazaars events risk being slapped with fines up to $15 million thanks to new government campaign. And that's from 3 years ago. Now, print that for me, please. That's a Fox News article right there. But Sandusky can do what he does for 20 years and not get in trouble. Here's another one. Insane Michigan government announces plan to destroy ranch livestock based on hair color. So instead of just getting citizens involved in a campaign to kill feral hogs, government is saying if your pig has any hair, we're going to kill it. That's the bureaucrats for you. Most hog species have visible hair. Even the pink ones have white hair. That's one of the more popular types. And you got the Hampshires and all the rest of them. So that's being announced. And there's giant fines and felonies. So you got to kill all your pigs if they resemble what could be a feral hog. It's not feral, though. So we got that. Just the bureaucrats are coming. They're going to eat out our substances, the founders said. They're arming against us, and they're commanded by goblin creatures like Elena Kagan. All right, for the next 40 minutes or so, Dr. Steve Pieczenik is our guest, and I'm going to give you a review with Aaron Dykes of The Hunger Games. That is a dystopic predictive programming piece on Agenda 21 and what the establishment actually wants to establish. If you read the 96 Biological Diversity Assessment by the UN, not the redacted one online, but the actual hard copy, it's the society they're proposing. Truth is truly stranger than fiction. We're going to be going over the blockbuster film coming up. Now, Dr. Steve Pieczenik is an MD, PhD. He's an American psychiatrist, former State Department official, author, and publisher. He's the acclaimed author of psycho-political thrillers and the co-author of the best-selling Tom Clancy Op Center and Tom Clancy's Net Force paperback series. trained in psychiatry at Harvard University and international relations at MIT. His novels are based on over 20 years' experience resolving international crises and hostage situations for the Department of State for 4 administrations, and that's putting it lightly, also involved in overthrow of governments and assassinations and things like that. We'll never talk about it on air, but Steve Pieczenik's very interesting. And somehow I'd missed a call from his. It happens, I get so many calls, and then I was going through voicemail and heard it again, where he'd called up and said, hey, you know, it's in the Washington Post, it's in all these places, and I was aware of that. I barely mentioned it. But in the larger context, it is important to show how the system scrambled to try to counter the info we put out last year that bin Laden was killed many years ago with Dr. Pieczenik's information, because that's what was in it. And, you know, the show, videos of the radio show, we're seeing tens of millions of times online, on top of our 15 million listeners a week. And most of the military I talked to didn't buy it. I mean, I was talking to a Marine Corps major just the other day. He said none of them buy it. And, of course, the SEALs helicopter blowing up, all of it, the SEAL Team 6 people getting killed, all of it is a major cover-up. And these Stratford emails, especially a CIA front, so it looks like it's private intelligence, but highly connected to, you know, kind of leak info out so they can say that the CIA isn't operating domestically, based here in Austin, was saying, oh my gosh, Alex Jones is terrible, he's crazy, Glenn Beck too. You know, they're not going along with you know, the fact that he was thrown in the ocean and all this. They need to show the fact that he's really at this military base, which is another psyop within a psyop, to act like, well, yeah, don't believe the official story, but most of it's true. So they do that when they know you're not buying it. And so Steve Pieczenik, Dr. Pieczenik, has some comments on all of this and says he talked to some intelligence people and tested some of the info to find out who's involved in the cover-up, and he's here to explain that, because it shows how desperate they are to shut this down. If it wasn't true, they wouldn't be running around like chickens with their heads cut off behind the scenes worried about this, with the Huffington Post and the Washington Post and all these other publications attacking with this info. So, Dr. Pieczenik, thanks for coming on with us.
Oh, it's always a pleasure, Alex. I think this is your moment in history. I don't want to exaggerate, but basically what you said and what you asked me 10 years ago, what did I think about 9/11 and Osama bin Laden? And I told you, only you, that Osama bin Laden was dead. He had Marfan syndrome. So we know that medically. It started under Clinton. It was continued under Bush Jr. And, of course, this president, Obama, really exaggerated and lied completely, along with Biden. But unfortunately, the entire military-industrial complex now, intelligence complex, is really in a series of self-destructive mode. And I tested it out. It wasn't just something that I wanted to just accept, because you went forward. I felt you were very brave. I felt that there was a need for someone like you, and I was more than happy to talk on the air. And the entire system really went to the forefront to try to discredit you, and in turn really try to discredit me. And then how this happened is a year, in November of last year, I was invited into a meeting where there were intelligence individuals. I'm still a member of the Association of Former Intelligence Officers, National Military Intelligence, AFSI, Council on Foreign Relations. But you all got to understand, I'm not acting on anybody's behalf of my own. As an American citizen patriot who's getting really resentful of the fact that our military is being abused by our intelligence system and our civilians in order to betray and penetrate our civilian population with lies, distortion, and deceit and attacks. And let me be very specific. And in order to test it, besides the predictions I made on your show, I put in what we call a poison pill into the intelligence community. They weren't even aware of it. What the technical term is, I doubled up some agents. I did some disinformation. But what came forth on March 6th in the Huffington Post is the issue that you and Alec Beck were crazy, because Fred Burton, whom I happen to know about, he works for Stratford in Austin, but he was in the diplomatic security system.
Didn't he work for you?
Well, he worked under me. I was Deputy Assistant Secretary of Management. He was too low and not really significant, not the brightest man in the world. He called you crazy, and he called Glenn Beck crazy. But what was more important is how they compromised. The entire intelligence system was compromised as follows. This poison pill that was really intellectual went through military intelligence in the Army, went through military intelligence in the Air Force, Navy, went through the DNI, that's the Director of National Intelligence, James Clapper, who reaffirmed the story. Unfortunately, the Council on Foreign Relations. It went through the Office of the National Security Council under Obama, who reaffirmed that he killed Osama bin Laden, which means that he's the only president of the United States to have killed a dead man who's been dead for 10 years and was willing to lie repeatedly. Went through the Vice President's office, Biden, who, of course, is not the very brightest man in the world. I think he has 2 aneurysms. This is the man who told us about FDR giving a speech into the press in 1929 on television when there wasn't a television and there wasn't FDR.
FDR wasn't until 33, yeah.
That's exactly right. But this is our leaders. These are civic leaders. These are civilians who have been so-called elected, no better than any of the others, no better than anybody else. And it went through not only through the military intelligence, went through the CIA, and I'm afraid the one I've admired the most, General Petraeus, really has to evaluate what he has done, what his involvement is, and who was involved in the CIA, because this is an old CIA storyline that goes back to the days of Clinton, Bush Jr., and I would strongly recommend that Petraeus do an evaluation of the CIA and either fire the people there or resign himself, including James Clapper, who's a former general, including Petraeus, who's a former general. I would say strongly that the 3 generals who are in charge of military intelligence, I will not name them, they know who they are, should resign, because we do have too many
But just
generals.
like putting ink into the blood system to, to test where there's leaks and things, you put information in to track it. So explain what you did for folks.
Well, what I did was to literally put in a tracer, an information tracer, to see where it bounced around and to see who reaffirmed the story of Osama bin Laden and how they tried to repeatedly in the intelligence community convince me that Osama bin Laden was really alive and that they had photographs of him. And I said, give me a break. I do television shows. I've seen his medical records, and none of you in the intelligence community has ever dealt with his medical record. And elsewhere, here is his position. He was dead 10 years ago. He was never alive. And the point of fact is, once you hit the Osama bin Laden story, you then get to the President Obama, who's lying. You get to Bush Jr., who lied, and you get to Clinton, because it's Clinton who sent in a physician in Dubai at the American hospital under the CIA and was part of the 9/11.
And by the way, that's CBS News. It's admitted months before 9/11 that happened. But specifically, just to digress here for a moment, Dr. Pieczenik, because I'm trying to understand this, all of this is going on, and we have them selling this idea that bin Laden's dead, but then they put out the fake photo and let it circle around and later admitted it was a fake photo. But when I talk to weaker-minded people in the military and in the general population, they think they saw a classified photo, and then I show them the photo and say, see, that's the one they admit is fake. So they did a little psychological warfare thing there, too, where they put out a fake photo but never said it was the real photo to make people think they saw the photo. I mean, just all these tricks here. And, of course, you said it was a fake Situation Room photo. You said all that came out. They admitted that most of the story's a lie, but now they're saying still believe a little bit of it. And then I talked to a Navy SEAL whose best friend is in SEAL Team 6, and he said SEAL Team 6 does believe that someone blew up their helicopter and killed them to basically cover up the whole bin Laden situation.
Well, let's go on and let me show you what happened on the tracer bullet. I went through the entire intelligence and military community in order to find out how many people were involved in denigrating you and me on the Osama bin Laden, how much money the American public has wasted, how much dysfunctional behavior there is in the military intelligence.
You're exposing an Operation Mockingbird. Okay, go ahead. I mean, you're exposing.
I get a call from an English reporter who works for, quote, the Huffington Post in California. I do not want to identify him because he has a daughter. He knows exactly who I am. I know who he is. He's unnoticed. But basically, I will not identify him. He was MI6. Then I get a meeting, literally a meeting from that meeting that I had in November from a Jewish Orthodox young man who works at the Lincoln Laboratories at MIT. I will not identify him. A Mossad operative, your typical low-level, incompetent Mossad. Now, this is Israel's finest product. You have basically what we call a schmendrick, a guy who didn't even know what he was doing, was doubled up so fast, it was pathetic. trying to talk to me and convince me that Osama bin Laden was dead. So you have MI6, you have CIA, you have the Mossad, then you have the Huffington Post of the United Kingdom. It is shameful that they were involved. And that is a desecration of actually the Internet, and it's a violation of criminal law. Then we go on to the Washington Post, because we're not finished yet. Who comes forward and has to propagate the story but the man we call the harlot of the intelligence community, David Ignatius, one of their key writers. And you would think by this time the Washington Post would know enough and have enough decency and journalistic professionalism to get rid of David Ignatius, who barely can write a novel, but does write fiction in his nonfiction articles, where he talks about Obama is the head of infidelity and killing, and he wanted to kill Vice President Biden to take over the presidency. Now, you have to be a moron to literally think about these stories. And a man like Ignatius should resign. He should be fired. And this is the kind of event that went on. The millions of dollars that were wasted, the millions of dollars that had to be taken in order to discredit you, but more importantly me, on the lies that were occurring in order for our men to die in Iraq for no purpose, for men to die in Afghanistan because Obama didn't really know what he was doing, and they're still dying now, for generals who were nothing more than professionals, lying, cowardly individuals who were never able to assert the fact that they didn't belong there, who I have reprimanded for over 2 to 3 years. Instead of wasting your time promoting your career, worry about the veterans who are coming back, who have no jobs, who are not taken care of in the Veterans Administration, who are told by my physicians that they're going to be treating 1,000 patients for one physician, and the nurses are going to be treating them. And that's General Shinseki, who had his leg blown off in Vietnam. But if we treated him today the way we had treated him in Vietnam, he wouldn't have had any leg prostheses.
All right, Doc,
So
let me stop you for a moment. Let me stop you for laymen out there, because you're moving fast. When you say it's illegal, you're saying clearly there was an intelligence, multi-nation operation to have media put out talking points domestically, which is illegal under federal law, to have the CIA involved in domestic propaganda operations and penetrating the country. But other governments were involved, which really makes it media espionage. And so, yes, that is illegal. And you were testing this. I mean, can you tell us specifically, though, what you were privately giving them that then came back to you to prove that it was intelligence operations?
It's simple, very simple counterintelligence that I do in 30 years, taking down regimes and neutralizing operatives, often having to neutralize my own CIA operatives who are really dysfunctional. In 30 years, many of them have become exceedingly dysfunctional. That institution has to be ripped apart, taken down, and actually eliminated. There are major heroes in that institution. They're no longer there. 60 to 80% of them now on contract officer. General Petraeus should be now interrogated and questioned as to what he was doing and what he has been selling and allowing to happen. It was simple for me. A guy who's had 30 experience, a man who's retired, really without any assets. All I had to do was double one of my friends and operatives, tell him certain things, allow those elements that I told him to spread through the system and see where it went. It was like putting a blue stain into the water and seeing where it went.
And so that tells you they're really worried about this, and that tells you that they know it's a lie. Have you gotten any word about them killing the Navy SEALs?
But not only was it a lie, of course the Navy SEALs never killed Osama bin Laden. There was no way they killed him. He was already dead. What the Navy SEALs may have done was to attack some building near Pakistan. But in the process, here's what happened internationally. We have alienated our ally Pakistan. We have created a civil war with the ISI, the Internal Service Intelligence System, which I knew about and worked with Yahya Khan, against the civilian government of Pakistan, which we cannot control, and Obama, the president, does not know how to control it, neither does Hillary Clinton. We have created problems in Iran. We have allowed Israel to get out of control. We now have Turkey as a problem. We have Afghanistan as a problem, where now we have desecrated bodies. We have men who go out ostensibly to kill people, and now we have veterans coming back. We have been totally dysfunctional in Iraq. We have had an army that now has to be put in question. They have lost wars and have created more deaths and casualties since World War II than any other institution that I know of. And I served in the military. I was a colonel in 32 and rejected a promotion to brigadier because of the fact that I did not want to remain in a socialized system where everything was taken care of for you. Your food, your uniform, and you didn't have to think. Now we have produced some of the smartest generals and some of the most dysfunctional generals I have ever seen. Cowardly, unable to assert themselves, and egregiously self-contained in terms of what they want for themselves. What we have now is what Eisenhower warned about. A military-industrial complex where the civilians, our legislators, are totally held hostage to every desire that they want. We're now shifting from the Army in Iraq and Afghanistan to a Navy that we don't even need to go to war or have an economic war or a force structure outside of China along with Australia. So we're building up alliances with Vietnam, Cambodia, Myanmar. Our military has to be downgraded. It has to be sequestered. We cannot do it with Panetta. We cannot do it with our legislators. We cannot do it with our system in place.
Well, Doctor, sometimes we've got to get you on. You're here today talking about some of these issues that I agree with. We have people like the top White House financial advisor, John Corzine, openly stealing billions of dollars, caught lying, and still doesn't get in trouble, making 40-to-1 bets. And I always thought that the New World Order crowd really had their act together. I know they're good at dominating us and running our lives, but they're not in control of themselves, is I think the point you're getting at here. And I'm seeing a Caligula-like craziness out of the elite right now, and I'm seeing the others that are awake scared, stealing whatever they can and leaving the country. What's your take on that? Because I'm seeing a lot of really dangerous signs out of the power structure that they are just going completely crazy.
Months ago, I said on your show, John Corzine should have been in prison. He was the senator who bought the Senate, and he bought it for millions of dollars, $75 million. He went to become governor of New Jersey. He was corrupt. He was totally disliked. He was corrupt there. And anybody who knew him at Goldman Sachs, where he was continuously an issue in terms of his abruptness, in terms of his incompetency, should know now that he was corrupt. That issue that he lost $1.3 billion and could not remember where the money was is going to be displaced on a poor woman by the name of Edna O'Brien, who was told by him that she should not have done it, and she refused to sign something. So it's going to be seen out in the congressional hearings as to what happened. He has to go to jail. Blank Fine of Goldman Sachs has to go to jail. A totally corrupt individual. Cohen of Goldman Sachs has to go to jail. You got Jamie Dimon of J.P. Morgan Chase, another institution that has betrayed and has totally ripped this country repeatedly, has to go to jail. Warren Buffett has to be investigated for his involvement in the banking crisis, and instead coming out with these Pontius righteous statements that he's willing to pay taxes. Sure, he's willing to pay taxes, but he was willing to take Moody's and upgrade false securities, which he knew about. He owned 40% of Moody's when he told
Sure.
everybody.
Well, Doctor, expanding on that, here, you have Obama signing the NDAA, saying he'll disappear any citizens he wants, and I want you to break this down. You've got him taking out of the deep freeze the war-footing emergency COG powers for when we're under nuclear attack, and saying he'll use it for any emergency or the threat of an emergency, including economic. I see federalization of police happening. I'm seeing all sorts of movements. I think the bankers think, just like they thought they'd win a 40-to-1 bet at MF Global, that they're going to get away with this. But here's my point, Doctor. They're selling 5 million guns a month right now. Everyone I know, liberal, conservative, is waking up and is saying, don't come push me around. And I think that this elite has really overplayed their hand. What's your view on that?
Well, I think you're absolutely right. I think our political, economic, and military and intelligence elite have failed. They have really disgraced this country. I think we're tired of it. I think it's time for the veterans to stand up for their rights when they come back and to state that they have fought for a country that really was not behind them, We have an army without a country. We have a country that has wars without any dedication. And the issue is we have to have a system where these people go to prison. The legislators cannot do it. They're cowardly. They're basically...
Stay there. I want to hear how you think we can do it, Dr. Pieczenik. I mean, can we get this republic back without violence? They're attacking peaceful protesters everywhere. They're arresting people, filming police. I mean, how do you get a country back from the clutches of a bunch of tyrants? The only good news is they are incompetent. They've got all this power. They've set up this takeover. But at the final equation, they are incompetent. It is true. They can be defeated. We've got another 10 minutes or so with Dr. Steve Pieczenik, stevepieczenik.com. And then Aaron Dykes is going to be in here with us in studio to do a review of the Hunger Games, because this is what the globalist eugenicists want to build. You see this movie. This is what the sustainable development, smart growth people, their ultimate goal is lockdown cities, feudalism. They're showing you their dream. Jumbotrons with Janet Napolitano telling you watch their neighbors. Dr. Pieczenik, you got cut off by the break. I mean, we sit here, we see classical tyranny being set up. We learned that 12 years ago, Bloomberg has now reported, they made deals with Prudential and others to take the death benefits of troops that have been paying in to get life insurance in the military. We learned that 9 out of 10 reactors is leaking one way or the other, just because they don't even care to repair them now, because the elites will get bigger bonuses if they don't. We're seeing that same tropism of elites, and you're a psychiatrist, perhaps you can describe it, where they become delusional. I mean, as I get more power, I try to be more careful and realize I have a bigger responsibility. Not that I'm even some great person, but I understand just how transient life is and how delicate. But I see other people that get power more and more, not just in the elite, but in the general public. It's a delusional worldview, and I really see parallels to Rome / Hitler in the bunker giving orders to armies that don't exist. I see the Indians deserting us now, the Pakistanis that were our buddies starting to do that. I see the whole world lining up, and a lot of them are bad, corrupt countries. I'm not a fan of what Russia's up to. All of this is going on, and I see them saying they'll secretly arrest us, and the communist Chinese using the NDAA as political cover to pass their own. What do we do? I mean, because the government is gearing up for war with us and admitting it, and they think they're going to win, and it's going to be like another Corzine 40-to-1 bet. They're not going to win in my historical summation. Do you agree with that? Do you disagree? What are solutions? You've got the floor.
Well, solution's very simple. We said it 10 years ago. We said it when 9/11 occurred. We said it when the lies and distortions occurred to this military-industrial complex. The military-industrial complex has to be taken apart. Eisenhower said it in the 1950s. That was his last speech. A great general, a great president. We don't have anything like that. So it comes back to the individual citizen, who he, she, doesn't matter, Republican, Democrat, Independent, whatever the religion is to get on and start mandating and asking for representation and demanding from their congressmen, their legislators, that if they can't indict the corrupt, they can't indict the political elites, they can't demand that there be a reduction in the military-industrial complex, and they can't afford to stand forward, they're going to have to go forward. And one of the people who will go forward, one of the groups, will be the veterans. I predict there'll be a recapitulation of what happened in the 1920s after World War I, when the veterans were not given any benefits, and they rioted on the Mall of Washington and D.C. because they were denied the benefits. And it was a General Douglas MacArthur who had to break it up along with a Colonel Eisenhower. I go to the veterans of this war, and the Iraq War, the Afghanistan War, the African wars, to say to them, you are now the leaders of a system that has failed you. You've offered your bravery, your honor, and now you should lead forward. I say to the young people, it's now your turn to do an Arab Spring in America. You use the Twitter. You use the social media. You take apart the various elements that are required in a peaceful way. The 99.1 movement was a disaster because it was not focused, it was not effective, and it had no real leadership or message. This is far greater than that. You don't have any candidates or public officials who could represent your interests. I don't care whether they're Democrats, Republicans, Independents, or Ron Paul. Each one of them is corrupted. Each one of them has been in the system too long. We need term limits. We need an entire new government that has to be restructured, that has to be eviscerated in terms of the number of people, decrease the federal budget markedly, bring back the powers to the states and to the local community. It's not just an issue of lowering the taxes. It's also of civil disobedience, refusing to pay taxes, refusing to consort with the banks, refusing to pay money into the banks, taking your money out of the banks. Once you take your money out of the banks, I'm now in a federal violation by telling you this. They can't work because they can't extend their credits. Banks work by allowing them to give you money for the money you deposited. It's really your money, but they're going to tell you what to do with their money, with your money. So you can Twitter, you can have an April Spring, you can have a leadership with the veterans, you can coalesce together, but do not think you have a candidate out there. It's neither Ron Paul, it's neither Romney, it's certainly not Santorum, and it's not Obama. So those of you who think that you have a new country and a new republic, you're wrong. This is nothing more than a republic that is dysfunctional. And it's very much what Alex has said. We no longer have a republic, but we have an empire. Exactly what happened to Rome. Our Centurion guards are the generals in Southcom, SOCOM, SINCPAC, and AFRICOM. These are all the generals who control the various areas and mandate that they need equipment that you don't need. Example, Hillary Clinton just gave aid back to the military generals who made a military coup in Egypt. Why? Not because it was necessary or was part of AID or it was a humanitarian effort. She gave them back $3.2 billion because we don't have enough work for our workers who make tanks that we will never use, the M1 Abrams. So we have a system that is so corrupt, both domestically and internationally, that we must take it apart. There is no repair here. State Department is not functional. AID is not functional. The presidency is out of control. You have more Secret Service guards protecting something for no reason whatsoever. You have TS agents that have no value whatsoever. I have Miami Port here and other ports that are not even protected. I had a commander of the Coast Guard tell me he didn't have to worry about protection of the port. So what I'm saying to you, this is a republic which needs the input of the young, the old, and the caring. You must go now literally online and create an Arab Spring and go forth in every one of your cities and towns. Refuse the Patriots Act, refuse the TSA, take your money out of your bank, refuse to listen and pay the taxes that you require, and take out the amounts that go to war, and ask how much goes to war. And see what happens when you practice the rights that you are endowed with, the civil disobedience. It's Jefferson who said every generation must discover its own democracy. Now we're in 2011 and 12, and now we must do what we didn't do in 2001 when the government attacked you. It wasn't just Bush Jr., it was Clinton as well. And it wasn't just Clinton and Bush Jr., it was Obama as well, propagating the lie. And the next president will propagate the lie. And the next president will increase the military-industrial complex. We do not need it. We do not need the stealth bombers. We do not need the carriers. We do not need even the jet planes. We have now one of the biggest problems which we haven't handled and we are overwhelmed with, and that's cyber terrorism and cyber security. Fortunately, we have a general who's very effective on it, but you don't hear about him, but we're overwhelmed. The Chinese are attacking us in terms of cybersecurity. We do have an economic problem in Europe, but we're not there to fund them continuously with fake money and fake paper. So we have to build an industrial basis here where we can manufacture, not in China, not in India. We do not need to take over the Indian foreign policy because the Indians have fewer legislators and diplomats than New Zealand had. We don't have an interest around the world other than our own national security. Our own national security means America first.
And Doc,
and unless we can do that, we will lose our republic.
And Doc, that's the problem, is that we have global financial interest that wrapped themselves in the flag and have now bought off our politicians. And we saw that the Occupy Wall Street movement was pushed by Soros. They made it a blank canvas of, hey, we're mad at corruption on Wall Street, which was good. Then they tried to get the biggest crowds they could out there to take control of it. But as soon as those crowds woke up to that and didn't want to be part of a fake preemptive uprising that was actually synthetic, then Obama ordered in more than 30 cities in one weekend Homeland Security in a 10th Amendment violation to clear these people off the streets. And so they tried to trigger, because their actuaries show that real uprisings are coming, they tried to trigger preemptively a false one to then brand it that people are calling for socialism when they're not. But we do need people to stop complying more and more. We do need people to get really aggressive with banner hangs, talk radio, city council, and shout down the crooks in government, because there's no doubt the system is moving preemptively with a classical authoritarian system to oppress us. And to the contrary, I see the oppression of the TSA and the rest of it actually being what's waking people up. So I think there's a miscalculation by the cowardly bureaucratic class, because they're looking at the world the way that they see it. They would be scared by this. Instead, I see people arming to the teeth, and I hope to avert a armed conflict. But I would caution the establishment, because I've seen the memos that are public. The White House thinks we're so dumb, doctor, they openly talk about staging a new Oklahoma City like we don't read their own memos that are public. I caution them not to start the war, because once it starts and they start trying to arrest people, people won't have anything to do but fight back. And it's not like people are going to wait in their homes for the secret police to come get them. This is not going to be like Russia. Dr. Pieczenik, your view in 1 minute comment on that.
I would agree with you. I think the notion that we have the Second Amendment, we're armed, is far more serious than anybody realized. This administration is dysfunctional. The Republic is dysfunctional. The only thing that is functional is the American citizens. We're not dummies. We're not stupid. We're not afraid. People ask me, aren't I afraid that I might be killed? The answer is no. I've been to battle and I've served for my country 8 different times. I didn't ask for a medal. I don't ask for promotion. I do ask my country to step forward once again and protest the corruption, the deceit, the lies, and the attacks that are coming on us, and go forward as individuals and as Americans, irrespective of your background, your gender, your religion. You are the next generation. Let's take down the Republic and get rid of the empire.
So restore the Republic, get rid of the empire.
Take care of this, get rid of the empire, get rid of this Republic, and make it a real democracy. I want multiple parties. I don't want to hear about Republicans and Democrats where they trade off. That's nonsense. It didn't work for 200 years.
Well, we're not even following the Republic right now, and it's just a terrible situation. And I hear your frustration, but it shows that if they did do that whole PSYOP, which I saw in the Washington Post, a bunch of other places, and it was government directed, that was clear, they wouldn't have attacked us if it wasn't true and if it wasn't hurting them. And that's my greatest frustration, is that I'm just one little guy, and I've had so much success standing up to these people. I wish other people realized that all that evil men need to triumph is that good men do nothing, as many of our founders said. And no army can stop an idea whose time has come. Now is the time to stand up. Now is the time to get involved. Dr. Pieczenik, thank you so much for spending time with us today.
Thank you for the privilege of being on your show, and God bless the people.
All right, thank you so much for joining us. There goes Dr. Pieczenik. Shifting gears into a very important subject, art imitates life, life imitates art. And the main thing that the United States still produces is movies and art, books, comic books, literature, television shows. We're the big purveyor of it. And it's all laced with conditioning messages. Now, in the last few months, I've had a lot of people say to me, Alex, what's all this hype with the Hunger Games? And I said, I don't know. I'm not reading fiction books right now. Don't have time for it. And then I saw some of the ads for the movie, had a chance to read the synopsis, had a chance to view the film. And Aaron had a chance to go last night and see it. And it completely blows me away. And Aaron was staggered at the end of the film last night because it's exactly what's in all the eugenics documents. It's exactly what's in the Biological Diversity Assessment, UN, Club of Rome. It is a super advanced technological society by a tiny technocratic elite who have rewilded 90+% of the country. They have the nation broken into 12 regions, which we're 10 regions under FEMA. They have monorail for the elite. Most of the public's been killed by an artificial collapse around 100 years before. And they play the different zones off against each other and organize society around ritualistic warfare, gladiatorial games. Now, in the UN Biological Diversity Assessment 96, they talk about gladiatorial games, bringing them back, human sacrifice. I cover that in Endgame. They've expunged it off the UN website. We have a copy of it. They just have a synopsis. We're going to have to dig that back out, by the way, Aaron. This is what is in all their literature. You got the Jumbotron saying spy on your neighbors. It's feudalistic. If you get caught, poaching something, even though there's plenty of game, you get killed. It's the system they plan on setting up. Most people in compact cities, 90+% population reduction. It goes right down the line. Amazing technology everywhere, but only for the elite, not for the general public. And the elite have a subclass that manages things who are profanely trendy and gibbering and foppish and metrosexual. All of this is the plan. Now, Aaron, we're about to go to break. You got a minute and a half to give us a preview of your take on this. Aaron?
You got it, Alex. And we've got so many of these movies. The reservoir is deep with these archetypal, thematic movies that tell us about the system they're building and designing. And this one really hits home because it's, I think, 74 years in the future after the rebellion, which clearly seems to be this time. And those who fought back were punished with this game system where they take the children and put them into this gladiatorial.
It's all about the state taking them. And again, there was a rebellion against the central government sometime before, and then 74 years have transpired since the game system was developed, yes.
And they have UN-style peacekeepers. They call them peacekeepers in the film, and they monitor the different districts, and they live in squalor in basic things, but they're spied upon under a high-tech system. There's plenty of food, but they restrict the rations for the control of the population. And if you go for more food, they put your name in the bowl more, so you're more likely to be chosen for this likely death gladiatorial game.
Total eugenics, actual plan. Upon seeing this, it completely blows my mind that you see this film and this is what they've got planned. I mean, this is total predictive programming.
It's sick, and it's got the whole Wizard of Oz node at the top behind the curtain. There's the little society of trendies who serve the system, have the stylish haircuts, and they celebrate this game, and it's a great thing to bring in these little chosen people from the outer realms.
Stay there. We'll be right back with the Agenda 21 movie. Let's put on screen for TV viewers the author of the Hunger Games. And we do want to try to get her on air with us because I want to pick her brain, Suzanne Collins, and ask her if anybody approached her with this info. I mean, obviously they did, or she's a listener of this show. And the fact that she wrote this novel 4 years ago, the first one, and it is Agenda 21. So she's either a patriot, and folks even mid-level in Hollywood don't know what they brought forward, or this is a mass conditioning program. Aaron, what do you make of this? Why do you think they've deployed this? Because they don't deploy anything big like this with this type of hype unless it's meant for a reason.
The thing is that it's always a double-edged sword, Alex. I mean, even if it was written with the right intentions, most of the public watching this film has no clue what they're watching, just like all these other films, and it's subconsciously in the mind. And if you're not aware of what you're seeing, it does help them kind of hold you and get to your...
That's right. If you're not conscious of it, it actually conditions you and acclimates you.
If you are conscious, you can just, as you're lounging in your chair, decode these things and start to put pieces together.
And it's all about nanotech out of computers manifesting. So there's artificial intelligence, might even be running it. You've got genetically engineered wasp. fake artificial environments, fake skies that are so huge.
Yeah, it was very gladiatorial, but also Truman Show, also Running Man, where it's a manipulated reality with this game show, and the population's very kept. This is several generations into a kept population.
It's to keep you focused on their corner of false reality, because they can't rewrite the entire system, so it's about sucking you into the spectrum of their lies. And this lady's a television writer, so she's writing TV shows that are designed to suck you in. Man, I tell you, it's hardcore.
I mean, I just heard about this movie yesterday, so I know nothing about the author. But in terms of the themes, it's the classic ritual sacrifice where they choose children from each district. But instead of rebelling against the fact that they're taking and basically sentencing to death these children,
people are competing.
They cheer for it, and they hope for pride of their district and this and that.
Well, that's really what it is. People's sons get killed in the military, and rather than get upset about it, they're really proud of it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all a ritualistic sacrifice.
It's really creepy, but they put a lot of things in your face, including the genetically modified creatures they had in this thing, and like you said, the nanotech creatures that were created on computers and instantaneously brought into the reality of this world where they're having the competition.
Yeah, I'd only heard about it in the last few months, people mentioning it, and I saw major hype, and then you never heard of it till yesterday when you guys went to see it. I mean, overall, it's all there. This is Agenda 21. This is the rewilding. They talk about gladiatorial games, human sacrifice in Agenda 21, in the biological diversity assessment. I mean, this is what they want to build. And so I guess they had to make a movie about it.
It's just really creepy. And it's just like the film Zardos, where it's the outlying districts, the furthermost from the centralized planning government, where you kind of have that last vestige of the rebellion. Even though they're programmed, you find those who finally resist coming from that area. And they still have a little bit of their humanity intact. They know how to hunt and run a trot line, as the song goes.
And the country boy can't survive, so perhaps this Collins lady will put her back on screen. Maybe she's good.
Again, I don't know anything about the author of these books. I did hear that the next book has to do with when they go back to their FEMA district, or if they don't call it FEMA, whatever they call it, it's basically a FEMA-kept region. And they got the population divided, and it's divide and conquer once again, where they have ethnic groups in their own division, and they're pitted against the other groups, and there's a lot of that kind of thing going on, again, as you have the upper class who are into the trendiness and the foppishness and being in style and buying into the pageantry of life.
Exactly. If the population would just realize that style and fads are all scientific systems to control you. Once you become aware of the manipulation, no matter how sophisticated, it doesn't work anymore. We'll finish up and then go to Dr. Ben Fuchs, our pharmacist. By the way, Woody Harrelson is in the film. And we've reached out to Woody Harrelson. I worked with him on Scanner Darkly. And I've talked to him a few times, but I've never really twisted his arm into coming on. But we're close to getting him on. He's just shooting another film right now. I'm just blown away by this. I want people to understand this is the type of stuff that the globalists are trying to set up. Districts are poor working class. It's like a time warp. Each district is fenced, dirt roads. People are hungry. They live off squirrel meat. And, of course, if they catch you poaching, then you get in trouble. I mean, this is the complete system. The globalists want to go back to an agrarian, feudalistic system with controlled, compact science cities. I mean, this just blows me away, Aaron. I keep saying I'm blown away. They made a movie about what they're planning based around Running Man game shows with technology projected into our areas where we're wearing loincloths. How many times have I said that? That's their plan. And then now they've made a movie about it, and people think they're seeing fiction, when this is actually a blueprint of Mad Men.
Yeah, they have rustic 1900s-style societies, and then they have spaceship-type crafts floating over to monitor the population. So that gives you an idea of the technological separation. But all the writings show a bifurcation, a separation, two classes, you know, a super rich and a super poor. And the super poor, of course, is the great mass of everybody.
And all they are the small amount that they allowed to live after they killed 90+% to toy with us. Just because they enjoy still torturing us, they're going to keep some of us, they say.
But I know you already justified why talk about a fiction film, but I don't watch much TV anymore, so these kind of films...
Well, you have to talk about it. It's a brainwashing system. Go ahead.
It really makes an impact on me, but these things carry real themes. I mean, we say, you better stick to reality. Well, it's full of fiction and reality anyway. Look at the Obama bin Laden narrative we just talked about. And
no, they're already blurring the lines. Look at how this Trayvon Martin thing is a production. Whether it was wrong or not, whether he was murdered or not, the point is the media decides to push this now. Why?
They wag the dog. But on the point of food, they have so much excess food, they throw it to the pigs, they throw it in the dirt, but you can't have any because you're under this ration system. You're being kept by the peacekeepers.
And that's the carbon tax model. They're actually calling for rationing. We ought to do a whole review of it and just piece by piece talk about it and then show how that's their real plan.
But the most amazing part of this movie, if you're one of the chosen sacrifices who's reaped from the crowd, that's your only glory in life, is that you get taken to the golden city, that you have a chance to shine one more time as you burn up in death, improbable death, because for those who don't know the scenario, they bring 24 children and only one can survive. The others have to kill each other, and that's the point of the gladiatorial sport here.
And as I said, the ritual high priest psychopath class in every culture manifests the same design. They want your kids. Right now, the TSA is just wanting their genitals. Okay, and mommy and daddy are taught, the men in uniforms with the little pot bellies with the spit dripping out from their lips, they're going to grab your genitals now. And people do it, and you're going to take the cancer virus shot. We're already in it. Okay, we're already in a total control grid, and it's about to get a lot crazier. Speaking of that, we're going to have the Prometheus review.
Yep.
Sneak peek. We have the inside scoop, Secrets of Prometheus. That's going to be out, Thursday, Aaron?
Yep.
Ended up doing an hour of voiceover for a 10-minute clip.
It was pretty intense, but we're going to get it done.
All right. You got your work cut out for you. We'll be exposing that Thursday.
But I just can't tell you how creepy it is that they have a multi-generational ritual sacrifice for the fact that the population dared to rebel against the controllers. That's really at the heart.
But that's what they really do. Governments get together in many cases in history, like the French and the British, and would have wars between cousins because, oh, I'm having uprisings, so am I. Let's start a war. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's what they do. They put the fluoride in our water because we're free Americans and we're the best. They're teaching us.
But, Alex, you represent history. History sees what's really going on. It's us in the now who are deceived, the general population, and that's who it's aimed at, telling us, don't fight back against this system. Salente yesterday talked about the natives getting restless. The population...
No, that's it. The message is you fight back, you die. We, the elite, are gods above you. That's the message of the film. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back. Pharmacist Ben Fuchs is going to be joining us for the balance of the hour here in just one moment. And Aaron's going to continue to ride shotgun with us. But finishing up, Aaron, with the Hunger Games, I think you hit on the heart of it. It's the idea that there's an advanced civilization, there's advanced technology. The general public is kept at a primitive level so they can't challenge it. And the elite have these glistening, secret, high-tech cities, life extension, genetic engineering, nanotech, with floating UN peacekeepers above them just so they can toy with humanity. The elite want to basically live as gods on a Mount Olympus, but still keep humans there to toy with us because they're psychopaths and enjoy the ritualistic dominating humanity over and over and over again. Now, there's a debate within the elite, many other publications, on whether they will keep some of us to toy with or whether they're going to just basically exterminate 99%. And we've gone over those quotes and documents. Aaron, comments on that?
And I'm glad you said Olympians. Of course, this stuff is archetypal because there's thousands of movies you could pull it from. But as the games go on, as the children chosen from these districts are made to compete for their lives gladiatorially in this matrix system, Truman Show type system, you've got the Olympians who run the inner city directing things, keeping tracks of charts, and they have little tracker chips in the arms, and another nod to RFID, and they monitor the whole grid, add new factors in. It's very Mount Olympus. It reminds me...
Oh, exactly. They have tracker chips in them, and I saw an MSNBC article today Aaron, where they're announcing the school uniforms are all going to have RFID now.
It's so creepy. But remember the movie Jason and the Argonauts, where the Olympians, the gods, are bored. They're bored with life. The only thing they care about is that little chess piece on the board. Was it Jason, or was it one of those other Greek myth movies where because he's in the fight, because he's fighting back against the system, because he doesn't accept what the gods have decreed for him?
Well, sure, that's Clash of the Titans, all of it.
They're super interested in that person, the one who's fighting back. And you see that in this film, too.
It's just so pathetic that the elite can do this, because they're not elite. They're a bunch of scum. They're like cancer. They're willing to do bad things, so they believe that's their social Darwinian, social Darwinistic right to do that to everybody.
Yeah, and then a sub-factor of the gladiatorial contest, they always have the professional gladiators who've been training for their whole lives, and they almost always win the contest. And I've seen other movies where this is a theme, too, where even though you're brought in to fight for your life, you really don't have a real shot at winning. You're really just meant to die, because they want you to know you're dominated. Well, you have a chance.
But it's still their system. So it's about making you feel helpless because you're not helpless, and we're exposing the real secret, the deep secret of the Hunger Games here today. Now, shifting gears, and I want you to stay here, Aaron, because I wasn't going to keep Aaron over into this hour, and he's got a lot of work to do. But Aaron's like, by the way, Alex, your goal is to go to 180, and I've lost now right at 40 pounds. I lost 37, then went out of town for 2 weeks. Stopped working out, stopped doing all the tangy tangerine, ate a little bit too much, stopped losing weight, got back on it a few weeks ago, lost another 2 pounds, just now starting to accelerate that. And again, it's not even sold or promoted here as a weight loss thing. It's just that the food is so depleted, the soil that the food's grown in is so depleted that when you actually get the real minerals and trace elements, you start not being as hungry. But Aaron, you're 1 pound from your goal. How much weight have you lost?
I believe it's about 85 pounds now.
85 pounds. Can we get a wider shot on that digital camera?
I mean, the thing is, I wasn't motivated to weigh myself at the top point there, so I'll never know for sure.
Yeah, well, we'll give folks a wide shot of you, but you now have 1 pound to lose?
It's 2, actually. I don't want to exaggerate.
Okay, I thought you said 181. It's 182.
I'm very close, though. I've continued to lose weight. I think the last time we were on with Ben Fuchs, I was at 210 or 215 or so, and I was already feeling good then. But
well, to give you an idea how big I've been, I've lost 40 pounds and I've still got some weight to lose.
Yeah.
I mean, when I sit down, it looks like I have a belly, but like my wife, when I get out of the shower, she's like, "Whoa!" I'm starting to get like a 6-pack. I mean, the guns are coming back. I mean, and I can run. But listen, I went off tangy tangerine, and yeah, I'm pitching this and promoting it, folks. But I only promote what I believe in here. I basically started doing it like once a day and quit working out. I was on the road, so I'd go to steakhouses and Mexican food restaurants and, kind of pig out with the kids and stuff and work late and things and, drink beer. So I didn't gain weight back. I just stopped losing it. Mm-hmm. But then when I got back, I've never been in the habit of taking vitamin and mineral drinks, so I kind of started forgetting to do it again because I'm not really hungry in the morning. And I was just going for regular food, and I couldn't run 8 miles. I was running like 4 or 5 miles. And I said, oh my gosh, I got to get back on tangy tangerine. I got to get back on pollen burst. I got to get back on all this. My wife's like, come on. And boom, within a week of getting back on it, I'm able to run 8 miles in the morning. In fact, this morning I had about 7. I had to go, and I had to quit. I was just ready to keep running off into the sunset. Because of this. So I hope people join InfoWarsTeam.com. I'm just up front telling you about this. Then we're going to get into just regular health things you can do, exercises, breathing that pharmacist Ben Fuchs has been putting out there that is really successful and really works well. And again, none of this is a secret. The globalists don't want you to know this, but I'm telling you, the word about longevity and the fact that folks can sign up at InfoWarsTeam.com and get discounts. You can also, over $50 orders, go out and get free shipping when you sign up for AutoShip. InfoWarsTeam.com. There's also a phone number there if you want to call and order products that way. But my mother, who's been a master swimmer and totally into health, couldn't lose weight. She is not reclusive, but doesn't like media. She's saying she might come out and endorse it. She's lost looks like 25, 30 pounds. She's able to swim, run further. I mean, this stuff is magic. But all it is it's not synthetic vitamins. It's natural vitamins. We're about to go to break, but I want to bring Ben Fuchs in here as we go to break. What is happening, pharmacist Ben Fuchs, when people start taking the tangy tangerine?
Hey, Alex, and hey, Aaron. What's happening is your body is beginning to work like it's supposed to work. Your body's supposed to work a certain way. If you don't give it what it needs, every bit as much as if you don't give your car gasoline and oil, it's not going to work the way it is. When you see weight gain, what you're seeing is the visible evidence of a body that's not working correctly. When you see weight loss, you're seeing the visible evidence of a body that is beginning to work correctly. It's as simple as that.
Well, we're going to go to break, and when we come back, I want to get into the basics of the biomechanical system of the body and the fact that the controllers know we need these building blocks, and it's not an accident that they don't just take the building blocks out of the food, but they also, as you know, then add all of these additives in that are really drugs and toxic chemicals to totally debilitate us and then chop us up later, never telling us that they gave us the binary weapon systems that actually created this effect. Now, Ben Fuchs is a registered pharmacist, nutritionist, cosmetic chemist, and founder of Econo Comp Pharmacy and Rocky Mountain Natural Laboratories. He's also a syndicated radio host. We'll be right back with him and Aaron Dykes on the other side. Stay with us. InfoWarsTeam.com. Folks out there know that I only promote what I believe in, and the proof is in the pudding. I've lost right at 40 pounds. Aaron has lost 80 plus. Absolutely incredible. And he didn't do it by dieting. Aaron had dieted off and on for years, exercised, went to the gym every day. But once you put the weight on, it's really hard. And then your stomach hurts. You want to eat. Because even if you're, quote, eating healthy stuff, it doesn't have the vitamins and minerals. And so, yes, I'm promoting InfoWarsTeam.com. I've scoured the world, come up with the best company to promote, and I hope that you'll go there and get the products at InfoWarsTeam.com because, again, a year and a half ago, I was talked into trying this stuff. I didn't try it because I know vitamins and minerals are important, but I just have never got into it. Then family started using it. Then Aaron started using it. And I started seeing dramatic, and just a spoon if I can get one, thanks. I'm going to have some pollen bursts here on air because I normally do this time of day instead of just having a coffee, because I noticed that doesn't work as well as a pollen burst. I'm going to have one of those on air. Normally I would have done it during the break privately, but I'm going to do it right here on air. This is a short segment going back to pharmacist Ben Fuchs. Ben, explain to people again what's happening here and crystallize. If you had 3 million people listening to you, say on national television, which you do right now on radio and TV, what would you say to them about what's happening? Because this is revolutionary, and the other vitamin companies and people aren't even advertising this fact.
Well, what's happening is we are looking for nutrition, and for eons we got calories and nutrition together. So when we go out, when the body has a drive for calories, when you feel hungry, the body's expecting to get nutrition with those calories. It's only been the last 150, 200 years that we figured out how to process food to the extent that we could deliver calories without nutrition. And today, if you go out and you look for food, if you go for fast food, if you go to the supermarket and get your food, you're going to get lots of calories and you're not going to get nutrition. So you're going to eat the calories and your body's going to say, hey, where's my nutrients? Go out and get some more calories. And you're going to go out and get some more calories. And your body's going to say, hey, where's my nutrients? Let's get some more calories. And you end up with this vicious cycle of the body looking for nutrients, you delivering it calories, the body expecting nutrients, not getting it, and sending you out on a hunt for more calories. When you give yourself these nutrients, not only do you get nutrients, but you get them in an easy-to-absorb fashion. So you get them quickly. So the body gets its hit of nutrients and it's satisfied. And you don't feel like going out and getting more calories, and that's how people lose weight. And the beautiful thing about this thing, Alex, is it happens quickly. Now, I never even talked about this stuff as weight loss, but when I started to see what was happening, and I started to see that people are really focused on weight loss, I was like, we got to explain how this thing is happening. Why are people losing weight? You're losing weight because you're not feeling the need to intake as much calories because you're meeting your nutritional needs. But the good news is, the beautiful thing is, not only are you losing weight, you're protecting your heart, you're building your immune system, you're delivering better brain health, you're improving your digestive system. In short, not only are you losing weight, but you're getting improvements in every single health marker because, Alex, the body runs on nutrients. Every bit as much as your car runs on oil and gasoline, your body runs on vitamins and minerals. When you get yourself on a nutritional supplement program like the Beyond Tangy Tangerine, the Ultimate EFAs, the Osteo FX, all the things that you get in the Alex pack, one of the first things you notice is you're satisfied without having to eat as much calories, and that's exactly what you're talking about.
I'm also noticing that my skin is healthier.
Well, let me tell you about the skin. You know, I've been in the skincare business for many years, and there is no way that you could find a skincare product that can do have as much benefit for your skin as a nutritional supplement program. The beautiful thing about skin health is the skin turns over faster than any other tissue in the body. So if you have acne, rosacea, eczema, psoriasis, any kind of skin condition, because of how fast the skin turns over, for every 4 to 8 weeks you have new skin cells, because of how fast the skin turns over, you can notice results, skin results, in a quicker fashion than any other system in the body. And let me tell you something, people really, really care about their skin, but when you see that your acne or your rosacea or your eczema disappear, what you're really seeing is the visible evidence that the biochemistry inside the body is changing. So not only is your eczema and acne and psoriasis and whatever your skin condition improving, but you're decreasing the likelihood of heart disease further on down the road. You're decreasing the likelihood of cancer and other degenerative health issues further on down the road. So not only do you have improvement in the visible markers, the weight loss, the appearance, the skin health, but you can use that as evidence that you are actually creating changes inside the body that are reducing your risk of degenerative diseases down the road.
When we come back, I want to talk about the UN movements and movements in the U.S. that are the most destructive and serious we've ever seen, trying to shut down vitamin C even in large dosages. They're really wanting to only let you have a tiny amount, and then Big Pharma is trying to patent all this, even fish oil, and make you pay thousands of dollars for something that would cost a few, dollars. I mean, it's just incredible. Pharmacist Ben Fuchs is our guest. Riding shotgun with us is Aaron Dykes. If you're listening on radio, you really should go up to prisonplanet.tv and watch Aaron right now, because Aaron has lost 80-plus pounds. Just to be clear, Aaron, I mean, you were working out almost every day. You were dieting. Well, I've watched you in the office down the hall go through this the last few years. Describe to people what happened once you started listening to pharmacist Ben Fuchs and the other guests we have on the show. Describe that transformation for radio listeners who can't see you right now.
Look, first of all, just being part of this larger waking up to the New World Order, I don't want to be part of the system. I'm trying to step by step detach myself from the things they've got me hooked with all throughout life. And that means television, that means these Fortune 500 food companies and all the other junk they got us into. And I don't want to be a part of it. So
but they love you.
I've been motivated for years, but it just wasn't working. I was working out hard, and I just wasn't losing the weight. But then it was a perfect storm. Ben Fuchs came on the air. I've heard about these vitamins. I decided to try them, and it just started working.
You did what you'd always been doing, eating healthy food, exercising, but something started happening. You started losing weight. So how long has it taken you to lose, what, 80-plus pounds?
I really started hitting it hard back in June, but I started taking the vitamins in about May or April of last year. And it's 80-plus. It may well be 90.
So in a year, you've lost over 80 pounds. Folks, again, this
is one of the easiest things I've done, too. I mean, I really enjoy exercising now, whereas before it was definitely a chore. It was something I had to make myself do. Now I really kind of look forward to it.
Folks, again, I only promote what I believe in, and your purchase also supports the broadcast and helps the news organization. That's why every few weeks, we have a plug for longevity and the Tangy Tangerine, Rebound, Pollen Burst, Cell Shield, all of it. Available at InfoWarsTeam.com, and there's banners linking to it at InfoWars.com. But if you try this, it's miraculous. And, I've talked to people like Dr. Blaylock, and he talks about the fact that essential fatty acids, coconut oil for people with Alzheimer's. And the system knows this, but they won't tell them. I hate to talk about this, but Ted's giving me authorization. He wants to save others. Ted Anderson's dad got Alzheimer's so bad he couldn't even take him fishing anymore. Got him on Tangy Tangerine for 6 months, knew who he was, started getting his memory back. It was dramatic. Ted was going to have to have surgery on his knee, doesn't need it anymore because he's taking the Osteo FX and all that. And it was so incredible that then his dad went and got his blood tested, and they said, well, your vitamin K is too high, and told him, don't take the tangy tangerine anymore because it has vitamin K, and don't eat leafy vegetables. Pharmacist Ben Fuchs, I then went and searched that online and found out that's standard. He's never even had a stroke. They just say, you're going to go on Coumadin, blood thinner, and you can't be on vitamin K now, and so you can't have leafy vegetables. I mean, the doctor's saying no Brussels sprouts here, no spinach, Popeye. I mean, and we're the extremists. I guess I'm with Al-Qaeda, Ben.
That's the extent that the medical model has gotten to. That's how deep the medical model has gotten into pharmacological therapy. This idea that you have to get off your nutrients so the drugs can do their work. I mean, if you just sit and think about it for a couple of seconds, it's ludicrous, right? No Brussels sprouts, no broccoli, so your Coumadin, which is rat poison, works. But that's the extent. Not only that the medical model. Not only is that how deep the medical model has gone into this idea that we can drug ourselves to health, but that's the extent of the hypnotic trance that we are under, that gives the authority to the man in the white coat. We trust the doctors so much that we're willing to not eat green leafy vegetables, which everybody knows are important for all markers of health, because we're scared. We've been led to believe that if we don't take the Coumadin, or we don't take the statin drugs, or we don't take the prescription medicine, something's going to happen to us. It's a hypnotic trance of the most incredible degree, to the highest degree. And what happens is, once you start on a nutritional supplement program, you notice, oh my God, I'm feeling better. Oh my God, I'm losing weight. Oh my God, I'm not as hungry anymore. And you wake up out of the trance. And like Alex said, or like Aaron said, we should be focusing on building our bodies up without having to interface with the control model, with the medical tyranny, with the corporate tyranny that doesn't care about you or your family. This is about taking the control back. This is about taking the power back. This is about putting the ball into our own court, the health ball into our own court. Your body is a miracle. The healing power of the human body is one of the most amazing phenomena in all of life. The ability the body has to regenerate itself, to heal itself. Even at the age of 90, you can begin to build muscle. You can begin to build tissue. No matter what your health crisis is, once you start to get yourself on a good nutritional supplement program, once you start to correct your diet and eat the right foods and not eat the corporate swill, you will notice health changes and biological changes that will seem like a miracle.
Listen, I did a fire ant video the other day to compare the fact that with a soft kill weapon like the globalists put in the GMO, the vaccines, the aspartame, the rest of it, that if you frontal assault, poke an ant bed, a fire ant bed with a pin, they'll swarm out and attack you. But if you give them Amdro that looks and smells like food but has poison in it and slowly kills them, they'll all eat it and die. And people said, you're animal cruelty just poking an ant bed. This is the mental illness, but killing Iraqi kids is good. But as a side issue, I happen to know with ranchers and people, and Richard Reeve reminded me of this today, that one of the cheapest forms of killing fire ants is actually NutraSweet. You just shake it up and mix it up with something like apple juice or something with your equal, put it on the fire ant bed. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to kill the fire ant bed. Oh, I'm going to really commit a crime here. I'm going to kill the fire ant beds in my yard and videotape it. I'm going to feed them aspartame, show them alive and dead a week later, and I'm going to show you what you're eating. It will kill fire ants, but you're eating it. That's how incredible this is. And then I think about Ted, God bless him, and I hate to use him as an example, but he wants me to save lives, where the doctor said it, so he's God, and so he doesn't get his tangy tangerine and now doesn't, pretty much know who he is again and has lost his memory compared to the miraculous results. But I've seen the cases all over the place where there was stuff 20 years ago they knew essential fatty acids and coconut oil in studies was good for people with Alzheimer's, and that it's an autoimmune situation in some cases. In other cases, it's chronic inflammation in the brain, according to Dr. Blaylock. They know this, and they know that when you get off the GMO and get off the aspartame and get off the artificial salts like the MSG, that you can reverse a lot of it, and they won't tell you because they want to give you the drugs and suck the money out of you. It is so diabolical. Why would somebody with Alzheimer's, from your research as a pharmacist, who would go on something like Tangy Tangerine, why would Ted's dad in just a few months see dramatic, I mean, it was like magic results. Ted said it on air here, that his dad suddenly remembered things, could go fishing again, was back. He had sores all over his skin like old folks get, you know, where the blood vessels break. That went away. I mean, it was dramatic. What's happening there, pharmacist Ben Fuchs?
There's 12,000, according to the World Health Organization, there's over 12,800 different diseases. But there's not 12,800 different diseases. There's only one disease. And it shows up in the brain as Alzheimer's disease. And it shows up in the pancreas as diabetes. And it shows up in the joints as arthritis. And it shows up in the intestine as celiac disease. It shows up in different places, but it's just one disease. It's the disease of inflammation and breakdown. And we get inflammation and breakdown primarily from one reason and one reason only, and that is lack of nutrients and intake of the wrong kinds of food. So whether it's Alzheimer's disease or whether it's arthritis or whether it's a skin disease like acne, it doesn't matter. These are just ways of obfuscating and confusing people so that they just give up and wave their hands and say, you fix me. The fact of the matter is, whether it's showing up in your brain or whether it's showing up in your joints or your pancreas, it's your body breaking down. And the body breaks down from only one reason, and that is lack of nutrients and intake of the wrong kinds of foods, for two reasons: intake of the wrong substances and lack of nutrients. So how do you get around it? It's simple. Get yourself on nutritional supplementation and watch the results. If it's Alzheimer's disease that you're dealing with, your brain health is going to improve. If it's heart disease that you're dealing with, your heart health is going to improve. If it's skin issues that you're dealing with, your skin health is going to improve, because it's really only one thing that's going wrong. It's the body breaking down, secondary to lack of nutrients, and the intake of wrong food substances.
Okay.
And the beautiful thing is, it doesn't take long.
All right,
it doesn't take 30 days. It takes a week or less.
I want to state something here. This is two things that's happening right now on the radio show. I do this occasionally. A, it is revolutionary information that can save lives. And B, it's a sales pitch, because we're a free market system funding ourselves. We're not robbing banks like many revolutionaries do. We're trying to restore the republic, get our country back by promoting things that we believe in. And, you know, I've been promoting longevity for about a year plus because I know it's good. But since I actually did my own advice, I'm just totally sold. So I hope people will go to InfoWarsTeam.com and find out about Rebound, Cell Shield, RTQ, Beyond Tangy Tangerine, Pollen Burst. It's all amazing, and their purchase also supports the broadcast. But that said, that is secondary to people understanding, hey, don't drink aspartame. I know so many people that listen to the show, and friends and family and even famous people, and I'll watch them brushing their teeth, and they've got fluoride toothpaste. Or I see them, you know, at a restaurant wanting equal, and they just don't think about it. So we're trying to save lives here. We're trying to discuss what's really happening. I mean, if you could see him on TV, folks, radio listeners, Aaron Dykes, 80-plus pounds. Keep saying 80-plus. I mean, do you know how much it is past 80?
It's probably 90, but I couldn't guarantee that.
My goodness, how much did you weigh, bro?
Probably 270, maybe more.
Did you know I hit 270?
I'm not proud of it, but hey, I mean, they got how many people now obese in this country? I mean, look what they're doing to all of us. How many people are going to have cancer? It's nearing.
But you should be proud of the fact that it's not embarrassing that you lost all this weight, or they were that big. Hey, listen, brother, I've only lost right at 40. I need to lose another 40.
Yeah.
You know what else, Alex and Aaron? We're domesticated through our food. We're made less virile. We're made like you know the difference between a lion and a big fat tabby cat on your couch? That's what happens when we eat the food. We're supposed to be lions. We're supposed to have a level of virility and energy and zest for life that allows us to go out and do things. What ends up happening when we interface with the food, the corporate food and the fast food and the advertised food and the marketed food, is we become like a big fat tabby cat sitting on the couch when we should be a lion in the jungle. It's a domestication that's going on.
By the way, it's well known that you feed farm animals certain diets to make them aggressive or make them docile. And when you mention that, it's on record that GMO alone in all species is making things fatter, slower, and stupider. I saw a big study on that just last week.
Fluoride, too. You know, if you wanted to pick a way to dumb down the population of a country, you'd put some stuff in the water supply, wouldn't you? So if you put something in the water supply, you got a perfect vehicle, a perfect vector for creating any kind of health condition that you want.
And now, because we've been exposing them, they're openly... Have you seen pharmacist Ben Fuchs, how they're proposing everywhere, putting statins in the water, Prozac in the water,
and they want to make
lithium.
It over the counter. They want to make drugs now over the counter, chronic drugs that are being dispensed for chronic diseases and chronic health issues like hypertension and cardiovascular disease and cholesterol-lowering drugs. They want them over the counter. So you don't even need to go to a doctor. You can go right to the drugstore. You can see the commercial on TV and then go over to Walgreens and get your statin-lowering drug over the counter. This idea of drugging ourselves to health, if you just sit and think about it for just 30 seconds, it would just be, you'd see it with the stupidity of it. How can a poison possibly restore us to health? How is that even possible? It's this pharmacological model that is really at the root of much of the health crisis that we're dealing with in this country. This idea that you can eat whatever you want, it doesn't matter what kind of nutrients you take, you can just get a prescription drug and it'll take care of it. It's the model itself that is corrupt.
Absolutely. And again, the Washington blog that we posted, Infowars.com, last week did a boil down of mainline scientific studies. We'll put that on screen for TV viewers. Radio listeners can just search the headline. Study genetically modified corn increases body weight in rats. And it goes on to say many crops in the U.S. are now genetically modified. For example, 93% of soybeans grown in the U.S. are genetically engineered, and they're used as filler in all the, many of the major processed food products out there. 86% of all corn, GMO. 93% of canola, that's a lot of the oil you're getting in foods. 93% of cottonseed oil. Between 08 and 09, 95% of all sugar beets planted were genetically engineered to be able to tolerate high dosages of pesticide Roundup. Then it links to the mainline studies about higher body weight in rats, lethargy, cancer, reduced fertility, lower IQs. I mean, this is what we're eating. This is what's happening. And I've looked at studies. Americans used to eat more fattening things, bigger desserts in the old time. It was like the French, smoking cigarettes, skinny, pigging out. But we have the GMO. A lot of people actually are eating less now, but they're eating crud. Why do you get fat when you're eating toxic stuff? I mean, I guess it's just the toxins are held.
Well, number one, that's one of the ways the body stores toxins is in fat. Fat is a mechanism for keeping toxins safe, keeping toxins segregated from the rest of the body. But secondly, you're poisoning your metabolic system. The body has a certain chemistry that it needs. Look, it's like a recipe. Your body has a recipe like a cake has a recipe or like some kind of food has a recipe. Your body has a recipe. It needs certain things. It needs vitamins. It needs minerals. It needs macronutrients, protein, essential fatty acids. It needs a certain degree of carbohydrates. If you don't give your body the basics, what you're going to end up is with chemical imbalances and metabolic disorders that are going to look like body fat. They're going to feel like sluggishness, and they're going to end up producing a dysfunctional immune system that's going to keep you sick and unable to defeat this kind of medical and corporate and government tyranny that we're all dealing with.
And again, I want to be clear. Stop eating the fast food. Stop taking the aspartame, stop drinking the fluoride water. My sales pitch is get healthy. And then if you want to go to the next level, InfoWarsTeam.com. It is so simple. And this is one of the few areas we can really try to take full control of our lives. They're still chemtrailing us. They're still, they're spraying crops with pesticides. You're still getting it in vegetables. They use fluoride as a pesticide. I'm going to kill fire ants with Equal. I'm going to show people. That's one of the next videos I'm going to do. I mean, that's my mission. And it's not because I'm goody two-shoes or Ben Fuchs is. It's normal to want to warn people. InfoWarsTeam.com. I haven't gone through a lot of these. There's all these points I wanted to get into with you, like high fructose corn syrup. We're trying to push that as safe right now. What does that do as a pharmacist from your research? I want to look at the question I asked earlier about how they're trying to start restricting over-the-counter vitamins and minerals, but, as you said, push Prozac on people. I want to look at chronic disease, like chronic fatigue. There's all these famous people you never hear about anymore because they're chronic fatigue. Well, yeah, you're living in Los Angeles. I mean, it's a toxic waste zone. Pharmacist Ben Fuchs, our guest. Aaron Dykes, also known as Schnecky, is here in studio with us. That's his girlfriend's nickname for him, the Schnail. And add a little tidbit in there. And we'll be right back on the other side. Check out InfoWarsTeam.com. Pharmacist Ben Fuchs is our guest. Let's run through these points real quick. Oh, there's so many. I'm going to have you back up. Maybe with Dr. Corey Gold in a few days to actually go through these. Maybe I'll have both you guys together, and maybe I can take a chill pill instead of a pollen burst and actually shut up. It's just that I'm so excited about this. It works so well. I watched Aaron not eating, exercising, couldn't lose weight. I was in the same boat. And this isn't even advertised as weight loss. All these other baloney weight loss systems don't work or are unhealthy, and there was the answer. When I want a midnight snack, I just drink some tangy tangerine. Again, I didn't even get him on to do a big sales pitch today, and then I just start promoting it, saying, get it, because I know it's that good. It's so frustrating that some people out there won't believe me and won't try it. But going through these points here, what about the movements now openly to restrict over-the-counter vitamins and minerals, Ben?
Evil. It's insidious. It's so nasty, especially vitamin C, by the way. Vitamin C, they seem to be targeting vitamin C. I don't know if you noticed it. That's their favorite one. That's the one that they're really concentrating on limiting and keeping people from getting, because vitamin C isn't even really a vitamin. It's like a god among men when it comes to vitamin. Most animals make their own vitamin C, human beings and guinea pigs.
There was a Nobel Prize on that. The elite know that. They're obsessed with it. Linus Pauling got research on it.
C is so powerful and so non-toxic that it almost beggars belief. It's almost unbelievable its benefit to toxicity ratio. You can take grams of it intravenously, and in fact, if you had any kind of degenerative disease, you'd be wise to take grams of it.
I was about to say that's the main thing he credits, along with other things. But, of course, you know that one of the most famous Native Americans, he likes to be called American Indian, Russell Means, they were injecting him. And it's like one clinic where they're allowed to do it as an official cancer treatment with mega dosages of pure vitamin C. And it was just like, and he was going to be dead soon.
And people are reportedly taking it orally with fatty vitamin C, too. And that whole thing is just poison. It's a cross to a vampire for their whole medical industrial complex.
Vitamin C is, and it's amazingly important. Now, here's the thing about vitamin C. If you take a prescription drug, you got to control the dosage very, very tightly. The window, what they call the therapeutic window, the amount that you can take without having side effects is very small on prescription drugs. Sometimes 5 or 10 milligrams, a 5 or 10 milligram difference can cause toxicity and side effects. With vitamin C, because it's a vitamin, because it's handled by the body so efficiently, you can take mega doses of it, orally as well as internally. And not only that, because vitamin C is a stress vitamin and it's an anti-inflammatory vitamin, most people are deficient because most people are under huge amounts of stress and most people are dealing with large amounts of inflammation.
How much vitamin C do you recommend, pharmacist Ben Fuchs?
Grams of it. 3, 4, 5 grams. You could take 10 grams of it. I go to bowel tolerance is what I tell people, and that means go to the point where you start to have loose stools, which, by the way, makes vitamin C an amazing laxative. There are millions of Americans.
On that, Tangy Tangerine has 1,667% of the daily value you need, but are you saying that's not even enough?
Well, no. Here's the thing about the Beyond Tangy Tangerine. The vitamin C is in a liquid form, and the body needs its nutrients in a liquid form. When people take vitamin C, typically, they're taking a vitamin C pill, or they're getting vitamin C in a multiple vitamin, and in order for you to get the benefit of the vitamin C, you got to be breaking down the pill, you got to be breaking down the vitamin, and you got to deal with absorption. With the Beyond Tangy Tangerine, because of its liquid fashion, it goes right to work, and this is especially important if you have any kind of digestive issues, which many, many millions of Americans do.
Well, Beyond Tangy Tangerine is my favorite, and I just tried a bunch of the stuff. That's what I like. 115 vegetables and fruits that are condensed down into this bad boy. The mighty 90 vitamins and minerals, all in big dosages right there. Available at InfoWarsTeam.com. There's a phone number on the site as well.
From deep in the heart of FEMA Region 6, Austin, Texas, transmitting worldwide, it's Alex Jones.
Pharmacist Ben Fuchs on with us for another 5 minutes here, and I've been ranting. By the way, I'm going to have David Icke on the Nightly News for an extended commercial-free interview tonight, 7 o'clock Central. So folks want to stay tuned for that. But again, I mean, I watched Aaron, just the weight pour off of him, and I was jogging almost every day, like 3 or 4 miles, and not losing weight. Because once it was there, it was there. and I just not as hungry. I literally eat half of what I used to, and I've lost right at 40 pounds now. I got to update the ads on the website. They say 20-something pounds because that was like a month into it. But I got radio ads saying 37 pounds. It's right at 40 now. And I hope people will go to InfoWarsTeam.com. It's miraculous stuff. And your purchase supports the broadcast, and that's how we fund ourselves. We don't have the big globalist advertisers like other people do. But going back to pharmacist Ben Fuchs here, it's also important just to get away from processed foods, correct? It's not just get Tangy Tangerine at InfoWarsTeam.com.
We are made domestic and we are made dumb by the foods. In fact, it should make people angry to pass by McDonald's or the Golden Arches or whatever kind of fast food people are driving through. It should piss people off. This is how we're manipulated. This is how we are directed, and this is how we're made docile and dumb, and it should really make you angry.
Well, I do get angry now, and that's this sanity returning, is that I hatefully look at McDonald's. I hate Whataburger and you know, all these places, even though I used to enjoy it. I hate all of these different types of things because I realize that when I eat it, I feel ill, and I realize they're pushing on everybody as our society degenerates and we have the worst heart problems, cancer, we're cursed, and it's all part of the vaccine pushers. They all own it, and I declare war on them.
McDonald's is part of the Monsanto Board of Directors. They're pure evil.
Pure evil. Pure evil. That's exactly right. And you know what? They brainwash you. They brand wash us from the time we're young. Right?
How does a pedophile trick a kid in the back of the bus? A pedophile dresses up like a clown. I mean, how does McDonald's sell death burgers, GMO death burgers, with a little satanic pedo clown?
So sick.
Grimace, you know, wants to rape your child's brain with toxic GMO. Grimace is a big fat Larry Kagan.
The good news is we have some control over that, and that's the beauty of getting on a nutritional supplement program. Is if you have a craving for salt, get yourself on minerals. You see, these people that make the food processors, they understand how to hit these craving buttons. When you get yourself on nutritional supplements, when you get yourself on minerals, that's your own salt cravings that you're hitting. When you get yourself on protein, that's your own sugar craving.
Maybe the space alien that's inside that rubber suit that they call Elena Kagan really looks like Grimace, like it's a big purple turd. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Ben. I'm having trouble dealing with the New World Order right now. I think all these vitamins and minerals, I'm just starting to get too that is my final problem. Why am I so crazed now? Even more crazed than usual. I guess I was naturally like that, and now that I'm exercising and have the right vitamins and minerals, I'm just totally crazed. Because when I take Beyond Tangy Tangerine, I get high.
It's energy and zest.
Is that what's happening, pharmacist Ben Fuchs?
It's energy and it's zest. It's power.
Zest,
and it's
fully
energy
clean.
That you can use to create things.
You're not fully clean unless you're zest. Sorry, go ahead.
Do you know how many people deal with chronic fatigue? You know how many people get up in the morning and they feel crappy? You know how many people want to have more energy?
I wake up seething with power! Why am I ruled by Elena Kagan? What happened in this universe where scum runs everything? And there's a bunch of moron sheep serving them drooling. Nemo's seething with power as well. Pharmacist Ben Fuchs has the bright side, the hour before me every day right here at GCNlive.com. Hey, man, I really appreciate you coming on with me today. I look forward to, maybe I can get you on with Corey Gold. Both of you do great. And I can, like, get in the corner and Aaron can shove a rag in my mouth and bullwhip me till I shut up and have you guys on again Thursday. But thank you, Ben Fuchs. InfoWarsTeam.com. You had to get on phone during that last segment. It was breaking up.